Hey everyone, welcome to GameFace, the most informative gaming podcast in the world. We're here to deliver episode 187 for you guys today. It's a short week for us. We just did a show on Thursday.
Yeah, but it'll be a killer of an episode.
It will be, as they all are.
Well, it's 187. So.
Oh, 187. I didn't even put that together. But anyway, here we are for another episode. The good news is there's so many games coming out right now that we do have a really good episode for you guys. And then we'll be back here for next Tuesday's show, which what I think may be the best episode of GameFace for 2019.
Finally got a couple of biggies.
Several biggies. That'll be in next week's show. Unfortunately, there's a couple that we wanted to slide in today, but embargoes didn't work out one. And then Outer Worlds, I didn't get for review. I didn't get review code of it. So that will be in next week's show, and I'm sure you guys have seen on
good reviews. Saw a lot of 9s.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't get to see them all. I've been busy doing pre-production for the show.
I was thinking it was going to be like a 75 average, but it's more around like 87.
Is it?
So.
Wow, impressive. So anyway, Matt and I will jump on that over the next 7 days. We'll be talking about that next week. Definitely be talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which I was supposed to have gotten days ago, and then I followed up, and we haven't got codes, and then there's a thread on a group on Facebook for video game reviewers, and I thought it might have been just us, and then I went and looked in that thread, and everybody is waiting for review code. So I don't know what's going on with Modern Warfare, to be honest with you. I don't know if they're trying to hold it close to release so that a lot of the crazy stuff doesn't get out before the game comes out, but you would think you'd want that, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
It generates interest.
Certainly no publicity is bad publicity at this point.
Yeah, and look, I know what's going to happen. If we do get it early, and look, I'll probably do this too. What people are going to do is they're going to find those crazy moments that have been talked about for the last several months, and they're going to publish the videos. It's just like...
Wasn't it already out there? I thought the game was out there.
It's probably in the wild somewhere, but they're really good about clamping down on Twitch and stuff like that, and they have a great relationship with YouTube to keep that stuff off of there. But I guarantee the dam is about to break. To me, you would think Activision would want that controversial stuff out there just so people start talking about it in the usual media circles or whatever. But anyway.
Who can fathom what Activision wants anymore?
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with Modern Warfare. No one's reviewed it yet. Obviously, if you're on Sifted today, you saw that the Outer Worlds, the review embargo broke today, and we have curated 8 reviews, I think, for that on the site, so if you want to check that stuff out. But we'll talk about it next week. Call of Duty, it'll be a gigantic episode. I'm really excited for it. But we also have a great show for you guys today. We're going to kick things off with a game that Matt teased last week. Well, it wasn't even a week ago, but on the last episode, you mentioned that there was a game that you had been playing that you thought might be a candidate for Game of the Year, and we're going to talk about it today, and that game is called Disco Elysium.
Yes. Did you play this at all?
I have not.
No. So, Disco Elysium, first, it's the closest thing to Planescape Torment I think I played in 20 years.
I think you did mention that. You're talking about Planescape. Yeah.
It is a point-and-click RPG, dialogue-driven. There is no combat. It is basically a point-and-click adventure, except everything is ruled by stat checks and dice rolls and stuff. And it is you hear Disco Elysium, and they talk, it's inspired by 70s cop shows and so and it is, but it's inspired by the really depressing ones. This is one of the bleakest, just most pitch black, dark comedy games I have ever played in my life.
So it's not so much based on Chips.
No, it's not Chips. It's Serpico. Really, it's
There's a lot of people listening to this right now who are like, "What the hell's Chips?"
That's your character on the right.
And
you basically are a hard drinking, barely functional mess of a human being. As you can see, your first objective in the game is to wake up and get dressed.
And I'm guessing you're hungover.
Oh yeah. You actually don't remember the last week.
Whoa.
And
that's one hell of a hangover.
And it turns out you've been at the hotel you're in for several days, and everyone hates you because of what you've done over those several days.
That you don't remember.
And the reason you're there is because there's a dead body hanging from a tree behind the hotel that you were called in to investigate. And apparently you just showed up and started doing crazy shit.
Do you think you may be responsible for the body hanging there?
Probably not.
Okay.
That seems to be related to a union crisis that is also related to maybe a serial killer, but also maybe related to governmental interface. That's the mystery. That's like the beginning of the mystery.
That's what you're trying to figure out.
Yeah. So like you wake up and you put your clothes on and you go downstairs and everyone hates you, and you go outside, and down in the lobby of the hotel is Kim Kutsuragi, who is your partner. You can see him there standing in the orange jacket.
Do you think it's an homage to Ken Kutaragi? No.
Probably not, but I don't know. Like I never thought about that. He's very by the book, serious business, and loves cars. Doesn't like you all that much, like, or at least he's from a different precinct and kind of like doesn't appreciate that he has to work with the giant hot mess of a cop.
There was the disco part.
Yeah, there you
actually go to discos.
At night like even the hotel lobby you start in turns the disco ball on and you can sing karaoke.
Oh.
They don't want you to, but it's one of the quests is to find a tape of a sad song so you can sing rock karaoke that night.
Huh.
So the game system is very like pen and paper RPG driven. So at the beginning of the game, you can pick your character archetype, or you can create your own, and it rolls off of 4 stats. There's like, I may be getting the names on these wrong, but there's basically intelligence, psychic ability, fighting ability, and like intuition, like police ability, basically.
Okay.
And
detective.
Sort of detective, yeah. And each one of those things has like 6 abilities in its bracket, and you pick which you basically distribute. I think it's 12 points among those 4. And so you can be like the intelligent guy, or you can be the brute force guy, or you can be, those are the archetype, or the the detective, or you can be like the intuitive, like psychic guy. But the interesting thing is the way this all works out is you're still pretty competent at everything. Even my guy, I went heavy on intelligence and low on physical, so my physical was like a 1 or a 2, but I still passed a fair number of physical checks. Okay. Like,
what do you need physical for if there's no combat?
I mean, there's still like punching and breaking doors down and like aiming the gun if you get in a firefight. It's like dialogue choice driven, but it's still run as like it still factors in, or even just intimidating people,
shaking them down.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Even something as simple as like sleight of hand, like hiding something from someone, or pickpocketing somebody, or getting something off a high shelf and not knocking everything over. Like it gets that granular at times.
Wow.
So here's like one of the big tricks is, so at some point you may see the page, and it shows the 4 things, and it shows all the skills, and there's like encyclopedia, which like,
yeah, they're showing them before.
Yeah. So like, and that means you know trivia, and there's something called Inland Empire, which basically means your inner world. Like you can tap into like the astral plane and get intuition hints about things. And
is there a supernatural angle to this?
Sort of, but maybe not. Like that's sort of one of the big things that's up in the air early on. Like early on, you can get into a side quest that sends you to investigate like a demon in the attic of this one building nearby, and it turns out it's some woman making dice. But like it's played up very strongly as, oh, there's a malevolent entity in this building.
Right,
it's not. And like here's the trick. Every single one of those skills in those brackets, they're all an individual character in your character's head.
Oh my gosh.
And as you go through conversations, you'll get like a little colored continue button, and that indicates that one of your skills has been triggered.
Meaning one of your inner voices.
Yeah, and so there you go. So there's a continue there, and when you click, you see perception, sight, conceptualization, challenging success. That means the conceptualization roll that happened under the hood there, you succeeded at it, so you get a little bit more dialogue, a little more information. So those are all individual kind of like almost party members in your head that give you more information, or question you, or give you hints, and then sometimes you can get in arguments with them and like talk to each other.
I just had one of those this morning.
Yeah, and go back and forth on things, and you can disagree with them and they can disagree with you, and that's sort of how the game works, is like you are an army of different personalities and skills in your head, and you're trying to kind of collate all the data into a coherent thing, and it's equal parts depressing and hilarious. Like, it's very clever. It's very sharply written.
Do you have to remember a lot?
No, there's a journal and
Okay.
they'll remember. You can go back through dialogue trees if you need to, and then there's skill checks, which are like specific like dialogue choices that will tell you, this is this difficulty. It uses this skill. You have this percentage chance of succeeding. And there's two kinds. There's red and white. So red, you have one chance. If you fail it, it's locked out forever for the rest of the game.
Whoa.
White ones, if you fail it, it's locked out until you put another skill point into that skill, and then it'll open up again. You go back and try it again. There's actually a page in the journal that lists all the available skill checks you've discovered that you could go back and try and where they are. So you don't have to remember where all that is. The other thing you can do, of course, is save scum. You can, because it's like 42% save, try it, fail, reload, try it. I mean, you can do that too.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not locked into the same outcome every single time. It rolls for real under the
Legitimately,
every time.
yeah.
So that's pretty much the game, and it's set in what seems to be the far, far future, in some weird sort of almost cyberpunk 70s cop dystopian post-apocalyptic. Like, it's really hard to describe. Like, does
it ever say like what year it's set in?
Not. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like 2600 in the 2600s.
Wow.
Like, they talk about it being centuries
Okay.
since like our time. And there's all these different, like, you can tell, like there's all, they mention all these weird countries and weird locations, and like people are from various places that clearly have similar names that sort of like evolved out of our place names at the time, but now that all the cultural stuff has shifted. There's a lot of racism in the area you're in, because there was like a big civil war to overthrow the king like 50 years ago. So there's a lot like bitter royalists, and there's like angry people that like are part of the invading force that took over, and then like there's people that are resistance against the ruling council, and then your character can go full. You can be a full communist, like you can like advocate communist policies, or you can like side with like the authoritarian regime that runs the place, and anything in between. And the game will reflect that. The game will respond to that. The characters will respond to that. And then there's another system called thoughts, inner thoughts, where it's one of the screens. You saw the screen at one point. There's a lot of screens to go in on this, but like basically it's a big picture and shows your character, and there's little boxes you can equip thoughts in. And then on the side, the right side, there's this huge list of thoughts. And like they're all just every kind of subject, like long road home, like there's a thing about like or something like inscrutable feminism, like all these weird things. And when they open up, because you've discovered them in dialogue, when you unlock them, you can click on them and have basically an intellectual conversation with yourself about the subject. And depending how it goes, you will get either a bonus or a negative bonus, or both sometimes, because of the change in your personality and beliefs that has created. And then you can equip them in that screen to like modify the character. The other way you modify the character is with clothing. Every piece of clothing has positive and sometimes negative, or sometimes just negative, effects on your stats. So if there's like a skill check you need to pass that requires a lot of, say, a lot of Inland Empire, or a lot of electrochemical, which is knowledge of drugs. You can go in your inventory. You can back out of the dialogue. Go in your inventory. Find all the clothing you have that gives you a bonus to that particular ability. Put it all on and try it again. Which a lot of times ends up with him in absolutely ridiculous outfits for the maximum stat bonus. So like at one point he was in like a cowboy hat and a wife beater with rubber gloves and clown pants on, because that's just what gave me the bonuses I needed to pass a particular skill check.
So it sounds like it's an RPG that's built all around your charisma.
You're literally playing the role of this guy, and that's the whole game, is playing the role of this dude. And like you're encouraged at times to be weird, because it can throw people off. Like asking weird questions can throw people off. Sometimes you don't want to do that. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you'll get out-weirded, and that's a bad thing.
Get out-weirded.
And some of it is just legitimate going around and investigating, trying to figure out all these mysteries. There is a time, a time like ticker that tells you what time it is, and you have to go to sleep and meet people at certain times. There's a Shenmue element, but the trick is time only goes forward when you're talking to people. So like having conversations is what advances the clock, because that's the core of the gameplay.
Right.
So can looking at things and just sort of talking to yourself. Any kind of dialogue choice stuff will click you forward in the time thing. And the times generate. It's not like it happens really fast. Like it was like, I think it was like 6 hours before I was even in the evening of the first day.
It's not like a multitasking simulation, is what you're saying.
But some things will go away if you take too long. Like there was a protest outside the union conflict for the strike, and it was causing a traffic jam and stuff. But and clearly I could go talk to the big dude that was running the strike, but I just never did. I was doing all these other things. I never got around to it in time, and by like the time I went back over there, it was nighttime and he was gone. Now I assume I will run into him again because other characters mentioned him a lot. And you can dig up like backstory on the world and backstory on various characters. There's this strike thing right there.
Oh,
so I didn't get to that. You can go through all the stores and do. I mean, there's a lot there. It's not if you require action and slam bang stuff, this game ain't for you. But if you like really well written stuff that's very interesting and highly psychologically driven and funny, like just funny in a really dark way, like there's nothing else like. I haven't played anything like this game in 2 decades.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that they make games like this anymore.
They don't. They arguably never did. I mean,
it's very unique.
This is like it reminds me of a lot of like the classic point and click adventure stuff, but it's got so much more to it than that. Like it's.
Is there like puzzle solving at all, where you have to like take this cog and like take it over here and put it on the machine?
There's like things like where you find like data tapes or whatever, and you have to play them, and like because all the tech in this world is like weird and sort of almost like Thomas Edison style stuff. It's like
even though it's in the future.
Yeah, like the computers are like big, like clunky, like things that look like the AV cart from school when we were in school in the 80s, and you have to take this like cube thing and stick it in and play it, and it like plays it like there's this horrible like kind of like Victrola sound, like
you have to crank it.
Crank thing, yeah. Like you find like, and it's like
the universe is very strange.
It's not our world, like or if it is, they've forgotten a lot about what our time was, because like you run into a thing like one building you run into, like there's all these things written on the wall and all these whiteboards that's abandoned there, and it's very obvious that the people that were there were trying to make an MMO, but no one had ever made an MMO before, and also there's no computer, so what they were doing, it was basically like a party chat on the phone, but it was like a group RPG, but you called into a telephone service, and like the operator was the DM. Kind of thing.
It's like AT&T LARPing.
Right. And they talk about, it's like, wow, that's a crazy idea. I can't believe anyone would try to do that. No one's ever done anything like that before. A game that you play with other people, like who aren't with you. That's crazy. There's a lot of game development jokes. There's a lot of like references to like how weird games are and how weird making games is, and like it's very meta at times. It's very smart. I think it's a very smart game. And there's no wrong way to do it. Like I was, I try to min-max.
I mean,
stuff
conceivably, you should be able to replay this for eternity.
It would be very interesting to replay this game as a hardline communist, or a hardline authoritarian, or as a complete psychic nut job, because I'm playing as sort of like a fact-based detective guy.
Yeah,
like I'm playing like because that's what I thought it was when
I
started.
Like, I'm a cop. I need to solve.
I was like, oh, it's a cop story. I'm gonna pick intelligence and investigation, and kind of like I'll deal with like if I hopefully my partner's better at aiming a gun than I am, and that kind of thing. But like it's very like it's really only the really challenging skill checks that you're gonna run into problems, and also. You level up every 100 XP, and you get like 5 XP for like clever dialogue interactions, and you get like 20 to 30 for completing like quest points. I have more than enough. I have tons.
So you level up
I like
frequently.
6 or 7 skill points right now that I haven't used, because I've learned that the best thing to do is like you don't want to level up right when you level up. You want to save those skill points so that when you hit a thing that you really want to pass the skill. There it is. Intelligence, psychic, physical, and
the upper left there. Yeah,
motivation or something like that. Yeah, those are your and those are the thoughts. Those are the thoughts on there that you can go through. Is it?
Some kind of superstar. It says at the top.
Yeah, you when you don't have your when you don't have your memory yet, you have a slight delusion that you might be awesome.
Oh.
Like early on, you're like, wait, am I really cool? And like they're like, no, you are not. But you can like convince yourself you are by picking that thought. And
Okay.
you saw there
That's interesting.
You get like more dialogue choices to be an asshole about it, but you also get a -2 penalty to your logic skill because you're deluding yourself.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing. Is like that's the whole game. Is stuff like that.
What keeps you playing?
See what happens next.
Are there like cliffhangers where? Or
no, I mean it's just you're trying to unravel the mystery, but you also want to see what this nut job does next and what you can say to people next. Like some of the conversations go off in crazy town. A lot of the characters you run into are really weird as you are.
Is the pacing good though? Where are they revealing like things that like an IV drip, so you're constantly like intrigued and like
that's sort of up to you.
Okay.
Like I mean the main thing they do is like the first day ended, and right as I basically figured out the investigation on the body, but that took me like 6 hours of playtime because I was getting distracted by all the things you can do on the side.
Right.
There was the bookstore investigation, and there was a whole thing with the pawn shop, and you have to find your gun and your badge are missing, so you don't know where those went. Eventually, you find out that you pawned the gun, and so that you have to figure out who has your gun now because that's a service pistol and. If someone gets hurt by it, that's a bad thing.
Right.
Eventually, and later you figure out that, my uniform is also missing. And so someone has your uniform somewhere. Or maybe you don't even have a uniform. Like, you don't know. Like, that's the thing is, like, you don't know. And everybody's so annoyed with you that they won't help you figure out what it is. So it's like a really clever way of making amnesia work as a game concept because, like, and parts of your brain, your inner brain, like from your other skills, clearly do know, but they don't, like they don't tell you, like because they don't like you either. Like your brain doesn't like you either. It's
such a bizarre game.
There is some voice acting, like usually like big, especially major conversations are generally fully voice acted. Other conversations with prominent like named characters, the dialogue will be voiced, or at least the early dialogue in the conversation will be. But it's all written in text as a story, so it'll have like in quotes the dialogue and the she says adjusting her headband, but like the voice acting will just say the line in the quotes, but you can read along with it. Which again, very early BioWare, very Planescape Tormenty.
Is this a big game?
It seems to be. Like if you see like there's a map that popped up at one point in the B-roll and it shows like 4 places to go. I've only been to 2 of them.
And how long have you been playing?
Like 13, 14 hours.
Okay. So it's at least like a 30-hour game.
Because easily. So so you start on I guess there's 3 places. So the first time you start like kind of up in the upper right corner there, and then the bridge to the down below part doesn't, like the bridge is broken and you have to wait till Wednesday for it to be fixed, and you start on Monday, I think it is. So
you have a few days before you
there's a couple of game days before you get there. And you can see there, like, there's all the days with the various things that that you've done.
Find cigarettes.
Some of the quests are very, very standard. Like,
that's funny. How much is this game?
I think it was $40.
$40.
Maybe it was 30. It was 30 or 40.
Probably worth it if you're into this genre, because you're not going to get it anywhere else.
It is astoundingly weird, and it's like, it's also not at all what I thought something called Disco Elysium was going to be.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would have thought that.
Like, I was expecting maybe something a little more like After Party.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Because it's not about partying at all.
But it is. But it is.
You're an alcoholic.
About kind of the true desperation of what the '70s were really about.
Yeah.
It's this is not Saturday Night Fever. This takes place on the stoop 4 houses down in Taxi Driver. It's horribly depressing but also wickedly funny. It is one of the best things I've played all year.
Wow.
I love it to death. It's like nothing else. It's incredibly smart. It's like weirdly fearless, even in an era of all these indie games that do such weird things.
Yeah.
And it's just I just can't. It surprises me constantly. Like and that doesn't happen all that often.
Is it PC only?
Right now, yeah. I don't know if
is it coming to consoles?
I don't know. I don't see any reason why it couldn't. But I don't know if they have gotten. I mean, this feels like it might be like dude, let's just get the game finished.
Yeah,
and then we'll worry about it. But I mean, considering the response it's gotten and how weird it is, it would shock me if it doesn't come to the consoles later on.
Yeah, they'd be cutting off their nose to spite their face.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, if I'm like Sony or Microsoft, like, if I see this, I got them on the phone that day.
Like, you're trying to get this exclusively, you think?
At the very least, I want it on my system.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely want it on PlayStation if I'm Sony.
I mean, it would run on Switch as well. I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, you can turn the stuff up pretty well, but like it's very, you can see it looks like
look.
a weird oil painting most of the
time. It does, yeah. I like the look of it for sure.
But it's very visually coherent. They pick an art style and they run with it. There you can see the thought cabinet.
Yeah,
that's what it's
yeah.
called. You're equipping all that. And you're equipping all his abilities. There's all his skills. I didn't even try to lift that barbell because I had no physical ability. And it's very like that thing where you saw where you just spun around. Like, that's these two old guys are playing with these balls in this crater, and you're like, oh, you can pick dialogue that says, like, I know what this game, I'll show them how it's done. And you pick it up and you shot put it into the ocean, and they're like, we were playing bowls. Like, we can't play now. You threw one of our balls into the ocean. What the fuck are you doing? And you either you have to apologize or give them a new ball, or like, and it's very funny.
It sounds
you're a complete loon. You're a complete fuck up. Like this, it's. And like no matter how good you try to be, you will always screw something up. Like and then you have to somehow fix it, or your partner is way more competent than you are. So Kim's kind of there to sort of
pick up the pieces.
Yeah. There's also periods where like if you need to do something really shady, he won't approve of it. So there's ways to basically ditch him.
So you can get away with the stuff.
And do the shadies because you can be a totally corrupt cop. Like you can like force people to give you bribes. And like steal money from people and like shake down businesses if you want. Like I mean, there's a lot of options here. You can play this however you want. Whatever 70s cop archetype you want to go with, you can be a straight shooter. You can be like the intuitive like sees the crime scene detective. You can be like the big like brute force dirty Harry thing, or you can be like the next the hippie sort of like out of this world sort of intuition guy. And like it's also fun because I did more intelligence and the detective stuff. And the funny thing was when I finally got all the stuff together that allowed me to investigate the crime scene, he's really good at it. Like he can tell how many people were there, what size all the boot prints were, how heavy all the people that made the boot prints were. And as you tell those things to Kim, to your partner, Kim becomes more and more impressed with you that you can actually do the job.
Like, wait a minute, he's a drunk, but somehow he's
a
good
drunk
at this
idiot.
job.
But he knows that the guy who made these footprints was 200 kilos, so maybe he was carrying the victim.
Right.
And this, and it's like so that's really cool that I have this character that like he's a complete mess, but like when it comes down to
competent.
it, you understand why he's still employed.
Right. Why he does his job.
He's too good to get rid of.
So you would recommend this to everyone? That might be
everyone who's willing to like play a really dialogue heavy game. I mean, if you demand action Twitch based stuff, it's not
definitely not that. Yeah.
But if you like, I'd say maybe if you like the idea of like a Telltale game that actually cares what you pick, on a moment to moment basis, like that's a pretty close comparison. As long as you're not afraid of a lot of reading.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of text. But it's very.
Which means looking at this text, it would not work on Switch. Not in handheld mode.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you could make the text bigger, like, because that's the thing is like, you don't need to see the rest of the screen that much when the text is on. So if you want to you could make that side of the screen. I mean, half the screen is taken up with text. You can make it work. I mean, Witcher has a text size option. I think that works pretty well.
So. You pretty much tipped your hand for adventure game of the year for you at this point.
I mean, there's nothing else like it. It's really well done.
I'm gonna have to play it now after your recommendation.
Yeah, I don't know what you'll think of it. Like it's slow and it can be slow if you're not progressing yourself far enough. It's slow and just ultra strange, but like
this is going to be an early December pickup for me, so I can play it before we do our game of the year.
But this is like this year's Return of the Obra Dinn.
Oh,
I think it's like oh, this great thing just came out of nowhere, and it's like nothing else I've played all year or maybe any year, and you have to try it. Like cool. You have to at least try it.
Maybe on the consoles eventually they do a demo or something like that, because this is really kind of one of those things where you need a taste of it.
Yeah, I would definitely, if like for a console release, I would release a thing where you can play like the first six in-game hours of the first day or something, just to figure out like if what it is and if it's like your to your taste. But yeah, it's if you're looking at it and hearing about this and you're like, oh yeah, I want. I mean, it's like just such weird shit you can do. Like there's like garbage cans everywhere and like bottles laying everywhere. It's like, and you think it's like just part of the environment. It's sort of like atmosphere. But if you find a plastic bag, you can equip the plastic bag and pick up all the bottles.
So it gets really detail oriented.
And then take them to this store and turn them in for money at a recycling machine. Like it's. And like so now, like yes, Are
you addicted to recycling?
I am a detective investigating a murder, but I am also carrying a plastic bag around it all because what you're carrying is shown in your hands.
Yeah.
Everything you equip on the character is shown physically.
Yeah.
So I'm asking these people questions about the body and the back, but I've also got this giant plastic bag full of bottles.
That's great.
I love it.
All right.
It's great.
Well, there you go. That's Disco Elysium, only available for PC, but it comes highly recommended from someone.
But not Epic Game Store exclusive.
It's not.
No, it's on Steam.
Yeah. Coming highly recommended from someone you should trust on the genre, Matt Kyle.
So yeah, if Planescape Torment it's cheaper than buying Planescape Torment.
Isn't everything cheaper? Yeah.
So $50 versus 40. So.
All right. Let's move on. We're going to talk next about sales numbers. The NPDs just came in. I think
Here's something Disco Elysium probably isn't.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to catch Disco Elysium on the NPD report unless everyone takes your advice and goes out and buys it. But NPDs came out.
It'd be nice to have an audience that big, but
yeah,
not today.
Nope. So the NPDs came out in the last few days for September of 2019. We actually discussed the NPDs for the prior month, and we had remarked about how they were not trending in a good direction. Mm-hmm. The September 29 NPDs continue that discouraging trend. Overall, the industry was down 8% year over year overall. Of that 8%, hardware was down 22%. Software was down just 4%. That's year over year.
Yeah, people are locking down their hardware budgets because they know what's coming next year.
Yep. Hardware was killing it because you also have to realize that hardware, that's big ticket items.
Yeah.
And these all, I don't know if people realize, but NPD is done by dollars. It's not by units. Mm-hmm. So when we're about to show you guys like the top 10 games for that month, it's not that those games sold the most copies. It's that they generated the most revenue. So a game that sells for full price is $60. It's loaded so that it has a better chance of finishing in the top 10 than a game that costs less. So just keep that in mind. But you're right. The big dip overall is because people have stopped buying hardware. Almost a quarter down from the same time last year.
I know I certainly kind of feel like there's more life in the current systems, like that next gen could probably stay another year away, but the sales do seem to indicate that everybody that has these systems at these current prices has them.
Yep. I mean, that's pretty much what it's come down to.
Yeah.
You've reached the law of no returns, not diminishing.
You've reached saturation.
Yeah, everybody who wants a last-gen console has it. I think once...
Until it starts dropping in price to last-gen prices, which happens over the course.
Once the consoles get down to like 150 or whatever, people start snatching them up again. But right now we're in that lull where they haven't done that yet, and they're starting to ramp up for next-gen. So not a surprise that hardware sales have dropped down that much. And in all honesty, software sales... It's a little misleading that they're down 4% because the year prior was Spider-Man.
Yeah, the lack of regular Sony exclusives, like AAA Sony exclusives, is definitely having an impact.
Yeah, if you think about it, you're taking $15 million in sales out of the market with everyone that doesn't get released. So Spider-Man was September of last year, so being down 4% software year over year, not that big of a deal.
Although Spider-Man's still selling really well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The game of the year or that version, but that version is $20, so it's not going to impact the NPD as much.
Yep, and if you look at 2019 so far, it's the sales software sales are actually flat with 2018. So you might want to. I mean, I guess you would hope that software sales would go up as more people get consoles, but at least it's not dropped.
It's going to be interesting to see what November looks like. Because there's like big stuff in November, but you wonder if people are buying all of them or they're just picking one.
Most people are going to have to pick.
I mean, Death Stranding.
That's what we're here for.
Death Stranding is clearly kind of the closest thing we have to Spider-Man this year.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think Hideo Kojima has that kind of reach in comparison. I'm thinking it's a 6 million, 7 million seller.
That's what Pactor said on Pactor Factor. He thinks it'll sell 5 to 8.
Well, then let me revise that then.
Are you going to go lower or higher?
No, I think 6 to 7 is. I'm going to go right in the middle of where he said. I think that's about right. Although lifetime could be higher,
I think over time it'll be better.
People
will buy that for PlayStation 5, so
yeah,
it'll have some legs for sure.
But it's not Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's not God of War.
Yeah, it doesn't have that wide commercial appeal.
Yeah. Also, it's hard to look at that game and know what it is.
It's true.
Like that, God of War and Spider-Man also the advantage of all you got to do is show anyone like a clip of it and they get it.
They get it. Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm hitting things with an axe. I'm a big badass
But
dude.
then you see a dude from The Walking Dead
Yeah.
like coddling a baby in a plastic tube, and you're like, what?
And delivering giant boxes.
Right.
And then Mads Mikkelsen shows up and
does
looks like himself.
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. Like I don't know. You're really leaning on curiosity.
Absolutely. So
I gotta
again,
cancel that special edition. I don't want to pay $200 for that game.
aren't you getting the baby with it? Doesn't that?
Yeah, I mean, but I don't think I want. I mean, if I had that, I'd probably just turn around and sell it
Because
that'll
eventually be worth money. That
yeah, but I
baby.
never do anything with shit like that. I've
Yeah.
had that stupid Borderlands 2 special edition in my garage for years.
And
I'm
you
never
just
gonna
don't sell it.
And at this, I always get to the point where I'm just like, just take it, just get it out.
you
of
give
here.
it away
I don't
to
want it
somebody.
anymore. Or I take
Yeah.
it to like a game store and they give me like $10 for it.
Right.
It's
And then
stupid.
they sell it for like 200. So anyway, software flat year over year. The top 10 best-selling games of that month, we're going to pop up on the screen right now.
NBA.
It's pretty shocking. In 1 month, NBA 2K20 became the best-selling game of the year. It is the top-selling game of 2019, Matt.
So that should tell you how much the complaining about microtransactions matters.
Think about that. A basketball game, the top-selling game, period, of 2019. And it happened in like a month. You have some of these other games that have been available for longer, and it doesn't matter. I mean, I know NBA 2K does great pretty much every year, but best for the year? I don't think that's ever happened. It beat Borderlands.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, I mean, I always really do try to emphasize that, like, you know, the bulk of people who make the game industry the multi-billion-dollar industry it is at the retail point are not us. They're not like us. We probably wouldn't have anything in common with them.
No, you're
Like,
right.
They
Other
play,
than the fact that we both own consoles.
we probably all both know we both know what the face buttons look like on a PlayStation. That's about
Yeah.
it. Like they wouldn't watch this show.
Yeah.
But they would play NBA 2K. And that's
Apparently.
what they're playing. Like,
Apparently
that
everyone
kind of
plays
thing.
it. It's pretty crazy.
I mean, also, like, Breakpoint has a shot there. I mean, Breakpoint came out, like, wasn't that, like, the last day of the month?
Yeah.
And it's number 6?
Yeah.
Damn.
It's pretty good.
That's all right. I didn't expect to see Code Vein up there.
I mean, FIFA 20, that's been number 1 in the UK for like 5 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
No surprise there. Link's Awakening debuting at number 4. Are you surprised by that?
no, I mean, it's a single platform.
The UK this past week, half of the games are Switch games.
Yep.
In the top 10 in the UK this last week. So Switch is doing great in Europe. It's a little surprising to me that it debuted at 4th.
Not to me. I mean, against NBA, Borderlands, and FIFA that are on all platforms, like that.
Yeah.
That's too much.
People-
Also, I think more people than we might think also agreed with us that $60 is too much for that damn
That's
game.
true. It
Like,
could be true.
That's a steep price point for
Yeah.
that.
Madden holding on at 5. That's
Madden's still
good
in
for
there.
Madden. Usually it has that. It comes out in August. It shows big in August, and then it just disappears. And
Yeah.
not this year. It stuck around for a second month at number 5, no less. As you mentioned, Ghost Recon Breakpoint coming in at number 6, barely released.
Barely even in September.
Yeah. So chances are it's probably going to make top 3 for October.
I would think so.
I would guess. Gears 5. That looks like a disappointing debut, but you've got to
It's
remember.
pretty good for an Xbox One exclusive.
Well, that, plus you have to remember that a lot of people just got it for $2 or
Yeah.
whatever. They got it on Game Pass. That stuff is not included.
Same with Breakpoint. Breakpoint
Yep,
was on
that's true.
Ubi's subscription service
Yep,
too.
that's true. Code Vein, the biggest shock. Actually, I don't know. The next one might be the biggest shocker, but Code Vein's, to me, that's surprising.
Yeah,
Come in at number 8.
that's great numbers for that.
Yeah, heck yeah. Like, I don't think even Bandai Namco would have thought that it would
wouldn't think
finish
so,
in the
no.
top 10. NHL 20 at number 9. Is this right? Like,
Isn't that good?
it's great. Like, I just can't believe it finished that high. Like,
Mm.
the NHL franchise has turned into an afterthought. Like, EA doesn't even really send out review code for the game
I didn't even
anymore.
know it came out.
Yeah, I mean, because no one reviewed it. Like, EA doesn't even like send out review code for it anymore. It's just like whatever. Like, we know the same X number of people are going to buy it who are big time hockey fans, and that's it.
I have
So,
seen more promotion for a cricket game on Steam than I've seen for NHL 20 total.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, but it made the top 10. Mario Kart 8. which was, by the way, the best-selling game in Europe last week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't try to stop the Mario Kart.
It's insane. No, it was the best-selling Switch game for last week in the UK. Not the best-selling game was FIFA,
well,
but
it wasn't gonna be Overwatch.
no. And then they also provided.
Witcher's doing good.
What'd you say?
Witcher's doing good.
Yeah, it is doing well for Switch. Yeah, it was up in the top 3 in the UK. And then NPD also put out. And we don't have this for you guys to see, but I'll just run through them very quickly. NPD also put out the 10 best-selling games of 2019 so far. And as we already said, NBA 2K20, already number 1, still blows my mind. And I think it's going to blow your mind even more when we start going through these. Number 2, Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah.
NBA beat Mortal Kombat. Number 3, Borderlands 3, already 3rd for all of 2019.
Doing good.
That's crazy. Madden number 4. Kingdom Hearts 3 number 5.
Yeah, I mean...
You surprised by that?
Not really. I mean, but the most notable thing about Kingdom Hearts 3 to me is how fast people stopped talking about it.
I know. But when it came out, people were all over.
I mean, there are people who literally waited half their lives for that game.
Yeah,
So,
I guess.
Yeah.
Number 6, The Division 2.
Yeah.
Which I would argue is the best game as a service I've played this year. Definitely better than number 7, which also might surprise you, Anthem, the 7th best-selling game this year.
That doesn't super surprise me. I mean, like, there's a lot of people that buy games, like, especially BioWare games, buy them sight unsold. So
that's still surprising to me after all the negativity and the bad press.
Most people that don't know that
don't even know
happens.
You're right.
And now they're paying for it. Like, I log on to that once in a while just to see what's going on, and like, it's just a ghost town.
I mean,
and
they
like,
just put up a Halloween event.
Yeah, well,
which I was surprised. I'm like, wait a minute.
I think the hardtimes.net did a thing on that where there's like they're like BioWare puts up great Halloween activities for the one Anthem player still playing or something.
Trick or treat. Number 8, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. Are you surprised it didn't finish higher? It came out late last year, and of course you assume.
Not really. I mean, I think
a lot of the sales come in that first month.
Month. It also came out in December. It's like prime Christmas gift territory. I feel like a lot of the people that wanted that got it right away, like at least in that first month because Christmas was in there. That's a respectable place for it.
It is. I would just say it didn't have.
That's also a game you really want to get in on the ground floor of if you want to play it like, seriously. So
it's true.
I
still thought it would do better.
You can't wait for a sale on a fighting game if you want to like be in with the day one tech.
You're right.
So.
I still thought it would do better.
Also, there's no digital included there. So I think that's the first party Switch game I bought digitally because I knew I didn't want to have to swap a card in and out every time I just wanted to play a round of Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of digital sales. It'd be interesting to have the digital sales on these things. I'd also wonder what Link's Awakening
NPD
looks
is
like.
Starting to include digital sales, but
I'm sure they'd love to, but you have to get the companies to share that.
That's the problem. So it's not really fair because some companies are sharing it, some aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And so the companies that are sharing it, they're getting boosts in their numbers. Like, to me, NPD shouldn't consider that stuff until it's considering it from everyone.
Yeah, there should be asterisks everywhere.
Yep, it should be. Number 9, the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Deserved.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm surprised that Anthem outsold it.
I think Anthem it was very strongly advertised, very widely, distributed. I mean, it was everywhere at the time. It's BioWare. People, I think Anthem was the last straw for a lot of people on BioWare, but like, it's not like Mass Effect Andromeda convinced people that BioWare was going to make a terrible game again. And I don't think Anthem is terrible. I don't know. It's just boring.
Yeah.
And you also, I mean, I was dumb enough to go in on it. I would, even if I wasn't doing this show, I would have still bought it. I would have still been in there. Because it looked like you could fly around like Iron Man.
Yeah.
And you can.
You can.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
Flying around like Iron Man.
I mean, it's the best Iron Man game ever.
Sure.
Until Iron Man VR comes out, probably.
Or if Avengers really surprises us in May.
Yeah, that's true.
But right now, there's nothing else like landing in Anthem.
It feels good, yeah. They nailed that part of it.
It's just, then you got to do all the boring shooting.
Right, all the other stuff.
So.
Then 10... Grand Theft Auto 5. Who's buying this game still?
I think there's people that are just like building furniture out of it.
Stop.
Like, I don't know.
Stop it.
Like somewhere out there, there's people that are like I want to wallpaper my whole bedroom with cases of Grand Theft Auto 5.
Who doesn't have that at this point that wants it?
I don't know. I used to ask that about
crazy.
The PlayStation 2 after when they were hitting like 130 million. So I'm like, who doesn't? Are you just getting one for every room in the house at this point?
When it gets to $100, you kind of can.
And the other crazy thing, like
buying it for your cabin or whatever.
Those are physical copies too.
Yeah.
So someone's just buying discs on discs.
It's crazy. So in your opinion, how are things looking, Matt? We're closing out Generation 8 here. How are things looking to you, do you think?
I think they look about fine considering the year it is. Like, it's, we're the year before the new console, so there's sort of a little, everyone's holding their breath a little bit. Sony's been kind of out of the picture in a weird way for most of the year. Days Gone certainly didn't set the world on fire, and everything else.
Yeah, how about that? Wait. That's not. You make a good point. Everyone was telling me that Days Gone sold so well. I got in like a Twitter argument with somebody who was like, "Oh, I know the data, and it's selling like crazy, and it's sold out at all our stores." Where is it?
I mean, I think it sold like 3-4 million, which isn't terrible, but it's not good for a Sony.
Yeah,
AAA
that's what I was
exclusive.
saying, and people were telling me I was crazy that it was selling out.
I mean, I think it probably was more or less up to or maybe slightly below expectations for Sony Ben's first major open world production. I don't think
I need to look up that Twitter thread where I
don't think Sony Ben's
going
to be in trouble for that or anything with Sony, but it's not a God of War, it's not a Spider-Man, it's probably not even a Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not one of those Sony tentpole, like, quarter anchor exclusives.
The people who are debating with me about it were like, "Oh, it absolutely is."
Not at all. No.
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous to even think so.
I'll have to dig up that thread and
it was the most muted, like, overall, in terms of like kind of the hype build-up coming up to it, even in the core gaming world, it was the most subdued I've ever seen people be for a AAA Sony exclusive on the PlayStation 4.
They keep updating it. Seems like every time I boot up my PS4, there's another update that's been downloaded and installed.
You can't say they haven't kept keep patching it.
They're trying for sure. But
they added new modes. It's like, they were all in, and I credit them for that, and I don't hate that game at all. But like, yeah, it was not a tremendous year for Sony.
That's an understatement.
Certainly, in comparison to things we're waiting for from them. We're waiting for Death Stranding, and we're waiting for Last of Us 2, and we're waiting for Ghost of Tsushima, and whatever else. Clearly, Horizon 2 is probably in there somewhere coming up. There's probably a lot of nice things to right over the horizon, but it's just sort of like meh. It's a weird year. If you look away from the Switch, everything else is just sort of there.
Yeah,
it's a pretty bland year. Like honestly, I am a little concerned about the Game of the Year episode, because that's going to be.
I think it's going to be tough this year.
It's going to be hard picking standouts this year.
I think we're going to have a lot of different picks this year. A lot of times, like probably about half of the awards we kind of agree on as far as the winner.
Yeah, but it's
roughly. I think this year is going to be like really 25% we're going to agree on.
Yeah, it's going to come down to like what little weird thing about this one game that isn't a standout compared to these other 5 other games spoke to me more than other stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to be very personalized. Yeah. It's going to be what was it about this game that spoke to me?
Yeah,
and it may not say anything to you, but
because it's the only way to. Like, it's the only way to pick something when nothing is like a jump out. Like, we don't have a Witcher 3 this year. We don't have a.
There's no runaway. I mean, look, there's still some games that come out this year, but as of right now, there's no runaway candidate for Game of the Year.
I mean, there's nothing left on the docket that makes me think like, oh, that thing's gonna set some stuff on fire. But like,
it's kind of funny to think, looking at this right now, if you froze this year in time, like, Anthem might end up appearing on like some Game of the Year awards.
It's a little surprising to me, or maybe not surprising because we didn't know what happened with it, but it's just sort of like, oh, that says a thing about the year long list is no Far Cry.
Yeah,
remember Far Cry New Dawn came out this year?
I do remember that. Yeah, it's nowhere on any of this stuff.
Nowhere. And Far Cry usually does crack the top 10.
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
That's why we have so damn many of them.
Yeah, they're at the bottom, the 10 to 20 for September. Just a couple things I'll mention. Spyro Reignited Trilogy 14th, Red Dead Redemption 2 15th, and then it's like Rainbow Six Siege at 16th. Think about that. That game's still selling. Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville came out at 17th in its debut.
Yeah, I learned a thing about that where like. My brother-in-law texted me screenshots of his text with my niece about where she was complaining about like, oh, this Plants vs. Zombies stuff looks kind of interesting, but I also don't want to play it. And he's like, why not? She's like, EA. And he's like, I swear to God. He said to me, he's like, I swear to God, we didn't teach her this. And he's like, EA, because you don't like that, or you don't, because she's like, because they're a bad company.
Wow.
And he's like, wow. She's 11. She's 11.
That's crazy.
And then she says
that is bad news.
And
for
she sends
EA.
him a picture of the Plants vs Zombies Battle for the Neighborville title screen, and she's like, oh my God, there's a new game out. I thought they were talking about an old game. Holy shit! and I text back, I'm trying to imagine texting my dad the words "holy shit" when I was 11.
Yeah,
it's a different world.
I wouldn't be coming home.
No, it's a different world
spending
out
the night
there,
at a
boys.
friend's house.
But like, she's super excited about that, but she's torn because she doesn't want to support EA.
Yeah.
So I found the people that care about Plants vs Zombies clearly. Or that reaction is something notable, but again, it's EA problem with an 11-year-old girl who does. I'm like,
so bad.
we swear to. I didn't say anything about EA to her. My sister didn't. Like,
she
no
just
one
figured
said
it out.
She just knew. She looked at what they did and she's like, "That's a terrible company." Children know EA.
Yeah. So that's not a good debut for that game, because if you bought it initially, it was $10 cheaper than if you waited for it.
Yeah.
Early access was $30 if you bought it when it actually came out, which I think was just today.
Yeah,
actually,
it was
it's
this
$40.
Yeah.
So you actually will pay more for it now than you did back then. So that does not bode well. Marvel Spider-Man.
Just another element of trying to leverage FOMO to get you to buy something that's not finished yet.
I think what we're seeing in the bottom 10 from September is the people who are buying consoles are going back and buying the best games for those consoles.
Yeah.
So at 18, you have Marvel Spider-Man, and at 20, you have Breath of the Wild. And then Catherine, full body, debuted at 19, which is kind of surprising. So there you go. That's the NPDs for September. October, November, those are going to be the big months and truly the telling months. One thing you can always count on is November and December being huge for Nintendo. So there's even a chance that by the time the sun sets on 2019, these numbers that we're talking about that are down year over year could actually end up becoming positive. So we'll see. December is usually a dead zone, but October and November are great for game sales, and that could kind of pull the year up by its bootstraps and get us to a net positive. And then next year,
one way or the other, next year is
going to be gigantic.
all kinds of,
because all the hardware at full price coming out. It's going to be a record-setting year in games. I believe.
It's a calm before a storm.
Yep.
I think.
Yep. So I think the industry's doing okay. This console transition's not too rough. I mean, we've seen it a lot worse, where it almost flatlines before we get to the next.
I think it would be less weird in terms of like year-over-year stuff if Sony had maintained a steady release schedule as opposed to whatever it is they're doing here.
Yeah. Yep. So there you go. That's NPDs. Next, we're going to talk about Capcom. This week, the creator of Okami came out and said that he is interested in doing a sequel to the game. Matt, do you believe that that's a good idea?
I mean, I like Okami a lot.
I do too.
So
I'm not saying personally. I'm saying fiscally for Capcom, is it a good idea to do a sequel to this game?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like it has limited appeal, but like weirder things have happened.
For sure.
I mean, when this game came out and everyone was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe they released this thing. It's so weird for like a Western audience to even care about like a Japanese mythology game that is oddly like very conservative."
Yeah.
Like it's actually like I don't know how to describe it. It'd be like if you put out a game in America which was about like a magic bald eagle defending the Bill of Rights. Like this, I mean, it's
that game would sell like hotcakes now.
Like, I mean, to us, it's just like, oh, look at all this weird magic stuff and mythological stuff, but like it's got a conservative bent if you're from Japan, apparently.
Yeah.
But then I would have said the same thing about Yakuza.
Right.
And Yakuza has become quite the cottage industry for Sega over here.
Sure,
so why not? I mean,
I'm down for it. I love Okami. But
I think as long as you can make it run on the Switch, you've got a pretty good sales base.
That's a good point.
To go.
That might not be a bad idea as a Switch exclusive, honestly.
I mean,
it almost makes too much sense.
It would be good to just start on the Switch at least and move to the other platforms.
Once I build some hype, get some good reviews.
It would also keep costs down.
Yep. So that news came out, which I was a little surprised to hear, and then Capcom had its quarterly financial report where it officially stated that it is looking into reviving several of its old IP.
We have no new ideas, but how about this?
Well, here's the thing, though, is that Capcom has a lot of IP that should be revived.
Yeah.
Do you realize that Capcom does not really make RPGs anymore?
Did they? I mean,
Breath of Fire.
That's about
and
it.
then some of the Mega Man stuff.
Yeah,
and you still get some of that stuff on handhelds, but...
Yeah, I mean, I guess, what was it? The Battle Network stuff were RPGs?
Yeah. Not great.
No. I mean, I don't think Capcom's ever made a great RPG. Right?
Yeah, even Breath of Fire was...
Breath of Fire
I think that's an overrated franchise.
Breath of Fire was a B-lister.
Yeah.
I mean, everything... I mean, the closest they get is, like, action stuff, like Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see them bring that. I mean, I don't know if that's a dormant IP, really, because they did just have that online game that I think they just shut down after a few years.
Yeah.
I love that game. But like you asked for my picks on this, and I was thinking older stuff we haven't seen in a long time.
Yep. So in light of this, Matt and I decided to go back and look at some of Capcom's old franchises and pick which ones we would like to see revived. Now, I don't know how you tackled this, Matt, but for me personally, I tried to look for... I looked at it from the perspective if I was the CEO of Capcom and what I thought would be smartest for the company. You may have come at it from a completely different angle, but that's...
I think the stuff that I'd want to play.
You just wanted to play.
Out.
Okay. So, Matt, what was your first pick for a Capcom franchise you'd like to see revived?
I'd like to see them give Maximo another shot.
Now, Maximo or Ghouls and Ghosts?
Maximo.
Okay. Which is what we're seeing right now.
Maximo was kind of a spiritual successor to Ghouls and Ghosts.
Yeah.
He's not Arthur. He's like a Roman, so it's clearly not medieval times. It's I don't know, the occupation of Albion era of British colonization. But it was there were two games on the PlayStation 2. Maximo Ghosts to Glory and Maximo versus the Army of Zin.
I never played the second one.
They were both very good, but hard as nails.
Maximo is really hard.
Want to Dark Souls my ass. Like these games are harder than Dark Souls.
Well, to me, this was kind of a precursor to Dark Souls.
There's some elements
because you only can take like 4 hits before you die. Because you take a hit, you lose a piece of armor. And then you get down to your underwear and you take another hit, you die.
Yeah, it's like 3 hits, I think.
Yeah.
And I think you can enhance that with some power-ups, but generally, yeah, you got 3 hits and that's it. And it's not common to find a way to replenish that.
No.
There you have the extra hit by putting the
right on
the
cue.
On.
Yeah. Which is also an interesting way to handle health in a game.
Yeah.
In that you have X number of clothing pieces, and you lose one every time you get hit, and when you're naked, you're dead.
Pretty much.
That's how it works.
Worked for Ghosts and Goblins, and it should work for everybody.
How do you think a game like this would do today?
I think if you made it less of like a mascot platformer and more of a Dark Souls-y sort of thing, I think it would do all right.
Do you think if they took like a serious angle on it and made it look realistic?
Not super realistic, but I think maybe like split the difference between maybe this and Dark Souls.
Okay.
Visually. Because you're kind of halfway there to some degree.
Yeah.
And don't use like a Dark Souls like system. Like don't use like, don't rip off Dark Souls as gameplay ideas, but just like a little less cartoony. And a little more like, not blood and guts, but just a little more God of War, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe come up with a decent story for once.
It'd be interesting to see how they would revive this because this game is really linear.
It is.
It is literally just a cattle chute that you're running down at all times.
I would like to see some kind of like the revival. I would do would be some sort of like mix of Dark Souls and the PS4 God of War.
Yeah.
Like a story-driven cinematic game that also like really delved into like how the combat worked.
I mean, when this game came out, it was kind of like Dark Souls in that it was like very difficult compared to every other game coming out, and people were polarized on it. Either people loved it or people hated it.
Yeah. Like
there was no middle ground.
Like Adam Sessler loved this game.
He did. Which does he like Dark Souls?
I don't know. He doesn't play Dark Souls.
Okay.
But he does love, this was kind of enough of a platformer for him to get into it. I have said to him in the past, like, if you can play Maximo, you can play Dark Souls.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. But, I mean, you don't even have, like, the crazy parry and defensive mechanics that you have in Dark Souls in this. It's really just, like, pattern memorization.
Yeah, I mean, you can game the system in Dark Souls. You can't game this game.
Nope.
Like, this game is, you're either good enough or you're not. And I know he finished it, so I would say he's good enough.
Yep, absolutely.
I never finished the first one.
I think
I got
did.
3/4 of the way through or something. I don't think I ever got.
I think I finished it. I wonder whatever happened to all my old saves for all these games. Like, I wonder if I went and like dug out my old like PS2 memory cards, if those saves would still be good.
They should still be
you
there.
think they would be?
The old saves I have for my PS1 cards are still there.
Wow. Okay. I know my N64 cards, the saves are gone now.
I still got my save.
That's really depressing.
Still got my save for Final Fantasy VII right before Aeris dies.
Oh, really?
I don't know why I kept that.
Yeah, I went back and plucked out some of my N64 cards, and the first 4 I tried, the saves were gone.
Well, that's because they're battery backup.
Right.
So,
yeah.
so the memory cards are flash memory, so they don't need that.
It was depressing to think about all the hours that I had spent playing those games, and it was just now gone. All my records and
that happened to me with my Saturn.
Mario Kart. And
something like 400 or 500 hours of Dragon Force gone.
Yep.
So
I think about all those N64 games I spent so much time on.
I started over.
Yeah.
That game's still
Can
great.
you replace the batteries in carts?
You can. You have to take them apart. And
with the game bit or whatever.
You have to rip them apart and put them back together, but you can do that.
Okay.
There's also,
I'm not going to do that, but
there's also
some
you can also buy, like, there's people that sell, like, for some games you can buy, like, mods that people make that, like, upgrade it to an actual flash ROM instead of, like, a battery-driven thing.
Yeah.
So, like, that'll make so it doesn't need batteries ever again. I saw somebody made that for, like, I think for the Zelda games.
Oh.
N64.
Do you remember that device that came out where you could take your saves and then upload them to the internet from like N64 and PlayStation? What was that thing called?
I don't remember, but like that was how like GameFax ran its like save archive thing you could do.
Yeah, in my first ever website that I ran, Street Level Gaming, we had a page that was just save files for N64 games, so you could pick up in the middle or whatever. I can't remember what that device was called at this point, though. The Dex Drive. Vincent, nice call, man. Yeah, it was the Dex Drive. That's exactly what it was. I used one of those things, so maybe I have some saves somewhere hidden on an old like PC hard drive that I had grabbed back then, but otherwise, they're all gone. My first pick, we're both going to pick two. My first pick for a franchise from Capcom that should be revived is Power Stone. Smash Brothers. 3D Smash Brothers.
Pretty much.
I can't understand why this franchise has gone away.
I think a lot of people ask that regularly.
I mean, this genre has done nothing but explode since Power Stone went away.
Yeah,
and nothing.
And and these games are even still command a pretty good price on the Dreamcast.
Yeah. I mean, if you try to buy them on eBay or whatever, you're trying to
I think they did a PSP collection, I think, and that's the only other time these games have ever been released again. They're fun.
But yeah, I mean, it's Smash Brothers, but 3D. You're not on a 2D plane.
I mean, the Arena Fighter thing was like it was a short-lived trend, but it was a thing. And this was probably the best one.
What were some of the other ones? I don't remember other ones.
There were a couple other. I mean, Bushido Blade wasn't entirely off of it, especially 2, which was more of a combat thing and less of a one-hit you're dead thing. There were like like Beautiful Joe had one that was more of a Smash Brothers 2D thing, but it was similar. But this kind of group fighter thing like was a very flash in the pan thing at the time. But Power Stone was the one that got it the closest.
And this is Power Stone 2, by the way, that you're seeing right now. It's not the first one, but they're very similar.
There was a Spawn game that wasn't too far off of this. I think that Kiss game was a little bit like that.
I forgot about that Spawn game. You're right. It was an arena fighter, but it was more with like guns.
Out-Trigger was like that. It was like they were kind of like some of them were kind of shooters, but it was like more of like a thing like this because they were afraid to go full first-person shooter because we didn't have a second analog stick yet.
Yeah, but imagine if Capcom made its own version of Smash Brothers with all its characters in it.
Yeah, you're just gonna get like a Power Stone guy in Street Fighter 6. That's all you're gonna get. Like, that's not. I don't know.
But I mean, it has the roster to make something like this compelling, and because it does have the added element of being a completely 3D game instead of on a 2D plane, it has a USP, a unique selling proposition that might make it stand out from the pack.
And it feels like a pretty obvious Switch fit.
Yep. Perfect. It's a perfect for Switch. I mean, that's the platform of Smash Brothers. So I had a ton of fun with Power Stone back in the day on the Dreamcast. It is still one of my favorite Dreamcast games, and I would love to see it come back. What do you think the chances are that ever happens, Matt?
Not tops.
What percentage would you put it at?
I'll give it a 7% chance.
I was gonna say the same exact thing. I don't know how out of 100 we both chose the same number, but that's exactly what I was gonna say, 7%, which means it's probably never gonna happen. But I would love to see it. All right, Matt, what is your second pick? You went You went a little niche with this one.
Yeah, well, I went also Dreamcast.
Yep.
I went with Techromancer.
Yeah. That's
Now, part of this was I just want to make you dig up footage of this thing.
it wasn't that hard.
But this is a Dreamcast fighting game in which all the characters are basically like generic permutations of famous anime mechs.
Yeah.
Like there's a Gundam guy and there's a Robotech guy or Macross guy and there's like a super robot guy and there's an Ultraman guy. I mean, it's all like genericized versions of things you recognize. And it's a really interesting fighting game that like it doesn't quite play like anything else because like you're knocking arms off guys and beating it's a little cyberbotsy, I guess. It's similar, kind of a successor to Cyberbots, which is a Saturn PlayStation 1 era fighter that never really came here.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to remember that one.
But I thought this was a lot of fun, and the story mode was actually pretty extensive. There's your Messenger equivalent. Crush Them Now, Giant Robo. And it plays in, there's the girl robot, and we have the combiner robot.
It almost looks like Shogun Warriors.
Voltus 5. Here's our Batroid, like Macross. There's the transforming guy. There's the big super robot evil guy. It's like something.
There's
like
the
a
robot samurai.
Here's the cute one, the comedy one. Here's the Evangelion one. It's also got, and there's the Macross one, the plane that transforms and fires micro missiles everywhere. I think I'm like one of like 12 people that bought this when it came out on Dreamcast, but I played it a lot.
Did it come out in the U.S.?
Yeah.
Did it?
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember this game for some reason.
Nobody remembers this game.
Yeah, you texted it to me, and I was like, okay, I'll dig
whatever
it
that
up.
is. I'm sure Google will tell me what that is.
Yeah.
Voltron. There you go, a little Voltron action.
Yeah.
I mean, all the super robots did cut the sword, pose, then
The
thing
light,
blows
and then
up.
the light shimmer goes across the eye. Yeah, very anime.
But it was a good example of kind of the fighting games of the time in terms of home presentation. There was story mode for every single character. With scenes and text and endings.
Now, did it change the story mode based upon the character you played? Oh, it did.
They had their own stories.
So I noticed when I was like doing research for this, it seemed like every character has a short campaign, but there's just a ton of them. Is that how it worked?
More or less,
Yeah.
And then like there was a bigger one, and then there's like little things to unlock, and it was, you can see the guy from the Blodia is in there. There's Blodia 2. Thank you, B-roll. So that you'll recognize him from Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yeah.
So that's the guy he's from Cyberbots. He's the one character that survived Cyberbots to make it into the Versus series, and he's the only one anybody knows. So that is what the robot he piled when in Marvel vs. Capcom, the fist just comes in as a super move, right? So that's what that whole robot looks like.
Oh. Now, why do you think that they should revive this, man?
Because I like it. There's no business decision
yeah,
here.
Definitely
I like
not. Were these, when you're saying like, okay, here's the robot from across, blah blah blah? Is that like, were you saying that they look like those robots, or it actually is like a licensed character?
There's no licensing.
Okay.
It's all just lookalikes or similar. Like it's not it, but we know kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like an NFL blitz. Like no licensed teams, but that team is supposed to be the Niners and that team.
Yeah.
Or not NFL Blitz because that has the NFL license, but you know what I mean. Like a generic sports game
where it just says Pittsburgh, but it's the Steelers.
You know what it's supposed to be. So like he's the other. So this is Blodia 2, but the other guy he's beating up is basically an Evangelion robot, which you won't be able to see because he's kicking its ass. But that robot is a mix of like Evangelion and Ultraman. So if you're familiar with sort of the anime mecha stuff or the Tatsunoko stuff, you will recognize everything that's in this game.
Now, would you prefer that if they did revive this IP, that they actually got the licensed characters for it this time instead of aping the characters?
I kind of like the dollar store generic takes on these things. I think that's fun. I would like to see bring everybody back, but also add like new characters because there's been a lot of progress in the anime mecha shows and movies since this game came out. So there's a lot more to make fun of. You could do like the Evangelion guy could have like a weirder, bigger, different version to represent the rebuild version because they've messed with that series so much. You could do a ton. There's a lot of open stuff, but again, it would be for about 20 people. Or even just remaster this one, just acknowledge this thing exists. Like that was this is a game that like I pop in every once in a while and play again. It's one of the few Dreamcast games I go back to like semi regularly.
So we said 7% for Power Stone.
I'll go
what percent?
0.7%.
I think that's right. How close can you get to 0 without it being 0?
Pretty close.
Okay, my last pick, and Matt actually mentioned this game a couple minutes ago. My second pick for IP that should be revived from Capcom is Beautiful Joe. I will say this. As I was driving over here and thinking about Beautiful Joe, when I decided to pick the game, it was kind of along the same lines of why I think Maximo could be successful today. Because there's been this resurgence of games that are challenging or difficult, but fair and have really good responsive gameplay systems. And that is exactly Beautiful Joe. Beautiful Joe uses kind of like time manipulation mechanics. It came out during the era, kind of the tail end of the Matrix era, where like bullet time was like a huge thing. And so the game uses a lot of elements like that.
The period where the way to make a fast thing the most exciting it could be was to make it slow.
Pretty much. When this game came out originally, it was a GameCube exclusive. I don't think it was a part of the Capcom 5, though, was it?
I think it predated that.
Did it? Or I thought maybe it came after.
I don't know. That whole thing lost all meaning after about a year because a bunch of them got canceled and two of them went to another system. And
this also ended up being ported to PS2.
Yeah, it went to everything.
Yeah, which I can understand because it's a great game.
But he got 3 games.
Yeah, I mean it's a great game that did not sell especially well,
Yeah.
so I can understand why Capcom would try to recoup some R&D.
But you had 1 and 2, and then Red Hot, which was the Smash Brothers.
Yes, the arena
party fighter
brawler.
kind of thing.
Yeah. Did you like Beautiful Joe?
I like the idea of Beautiful Joe more than I like Beautiful Joe. I never really got into it. Like it was I tried and like I just wasn't patient enough to learn how to play it right, basically. Cuz it does take it wasn't easy. It was not, once you get past like the first couple of levels, it was like you got to play smart. And
it was one of the look, a lot of games have like that second layer of complexity to them, but oftentimes you don't have to master that second level of complexity to get through the game. This one, you had to. You had to master everything. The game made sure that it tested your might in pretty much every way. And so it forced you to be good at it. And I think a lot of people were like you, Matt. I think a lot of people got to that point where it's like, okay, now you have to master the harder mechanics in this game, and I think a lot of people just bailed. I was surprised it got a sequel because the first one did not sell very well.
For whatever reason, Capcom really seemed to believe in this. Like they kept giving it another shot. Like they were not ready to give up on Joe. Which, to their credit, it's a cool, unique thing they had, and I like that they really tried to make it work, and it just never really caught on.
Chat is saying it was a part of the Capcom 5. It was the second game after RE4. That's from Chester Eugene. Thanks, bro. I do not like the character of Beautiful Joe. I think the art of the character and the way he's built is just weird, and he's not particularly appealing.
Well, he's the Red Ranger.
I mean, that's probably the best way that you could describe him. But the pint size, he's like a muscle hamster. Like, he's little, but he's all ripped.
There's definitely an aesthetic choice happening.
Yeah, I don't think that it has a wide appeal. Because what was the Wii U game that they put out that also had little like muscle,
like the Wonderful 101?
Yeah, the Wonderful 101. Yeah. I was kind of surprised when I saw that for the first time that it wasn't a Beautiful Joe game.
I mean, it has a lot of Beautiful Joe in it.
It does, yeah. More creative even than Beautiful Joe, to be honest. But I think arguably,
where the hell's a Switch version of that?
Yeah, I would argue Beautiful Joe though aesthetically is more pleasing than that game.
Yeah, I mean it's. I think Wonderful 101. I like Wonderful 101's designs better on paper, but like in terms of what it looks like in the actual game.
Yeah.
Virtual Joe, Beautiful Joe, probably takes that competition.
Yeah, but anyway, that's my second pick for Capcombies. Capcom zombies, rising them from the dead. I do have one more honorable mention.
I don't think that's super unlikely.
What, Beautiful Joe?
Yeah.
I'd give it 12%. Chance.
I might go closer to 20.
Yeah.
It's not impossible.
Well, because Capcom did give it 3 releases, so it at one point in time, it thought it was a good idea.
I can see them doing like a Beautiful Joe 1 and 2 remaster for Switch or
That's
something
true.
to sort of test the water.
Yeah, I could see that. That's actually probably a good idea. Because there's a lot of people who probably don't even know that franchise exists at this point. Then I did have one other honorable mention. I know everyone's probably sitting there saying it's going to be Dino Crisis. It's not.
I don't think Dino Crisis is too obvious.
Yeah.
I think Dino Crisis is like an 85% chance of being one of these things.
Yeah, which I don't think it should be.
I really like Dino Crisis 2, but I like Dino Crisis 2 because they turned it into an action shooter.
Yeah.
And I don't think if they bring Dino Crisis back, it's going to be that. It's going to be a Resident Evil game with dinosaurs,
Probably.
which I didn't think worked all that well.
Yeah. I didn't think any of them were that good, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think most people hated Dino Crisis 2, didn't they?
I don't know. I really like Dino Crisis 2. It's the only one in the series I actually really genuinely
Did they make 3 of those or just 2?
They made 3.
Okay, so it's the third one is the
third
one
one
that's
was in
awful.
space.
Right, yeah,
like
that's the
Rocket,
terrible one.
Cyborg T-Rex and
That's one of the worst games of that
on
generation.
the Xbox One, I think.
Yeah, they ruined the franchise. That's why we haven't seen it since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is one of the biggest miscalculations of what people wanted from a series, I think, in the history of making sequels to anything. That is the Ghostbusters 2 of game sequels.
I don't know. Maybe we want to wait and see what they do with these old IPs first, because we could see it again. So Dino Crisis was not my honorable mention. My honorable mention was Zack and Wiki. A lot of you probably don't even know what this game is. This was a Wii exclusive.
Yeah.
It's a
Puzzle game.
It's a point-and-click puzzle adventure starring a cute little pirate kid. Gives me a little bit of a Skies of Arcadia vibe to it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that.
But this game tanked horribly, and the chances of this getting a sequel are literally zero.
You could get this thing for like $5 at one point,
Yeah.
and now you can't get it for less than 70.
Yeah, because they just didn't press that many
It
copies
makes that
of it.
many copies. Also, it became kind of a cult hit because it's really good.
It is really good. Yeah, if you can ever find this game, you can probably plop it into your Wii U and play it with the GameCube backwards compatibility. Or no, with the... this was a Wii game. So you can put it in the Wii U and play the Wii still.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could play it on your Wii U if you don't have a Wii. But as Matt said, it's really hard to track down, and it's really expensive once you do. But it is a very, very clever point-and-click puzzle adventure.
You could do worse than to track this down if you have like a collection of weird, rare things.
Yeah, and so this was just wishful thinking on my part. I literally think the chances of it happening are zero. But
This is your tech romancer.
Yep, exactly. I just use it as my honorable mention. But one of those kind of sleeper, high-quality Wii games that just kind of slip through the cracks. And there's a lot of pretty good games on Wii, like Cave Story is another one.
Yeah.
That just, for whatever reason, nothing sold for Wii.
If
so many consoles, so little sales.
They sold like 50 to 60 million of those consoles to people that never wanted to play anything but Wii bowling.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy though that games like this couldn't find an audience, but that's just the way it was. So
I mean, they found an okay audience, but like you're talking about a system that had 110 million system install base that sold 10 million copies of Galaxy.
I know, like in my opinion,
one of the best games of that
3D
generation.
Yeah, best 3D Mario in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
you're not going to sell many of this if you
No.
can't sell a really awesome Mario game that literally got like perfect 10s across the board.
Yep.
Think about that. How many tens of millions of people said nope after they saw review scores for Super Mario Galaxy?
Most of the people that said nope that owned Wii's don't
review
even know
scores.
that video games get reviewed.
Yeah, you're right. They probably didn't know that.
But I mean, hell, as long as we're naming Capcom things that never happened, I'd love to see them bring back the hack and slash Dungeons and Dragons games.
Yeah.
They'll never get that license again. But
Vincent in the chat brought up Mega Man Battle Network is being revived. That's another good pick.
I mean, it would be kind of a good time for like a Mega Man renaissance. I'd also like to see them take another crack at Mega Man X.
Yeah, for sure.
So anything's possible, but like I feel like Mega Man is not really what you'd be talking about if you're talking about reviving your dormant IPs.
No,
like
I mean it's not considered dormant. They're still
Yeah.
putting out new Mega Man.
Yeah, and Mega Man X, Battle Network, all this. I mean, we consider them separate things, but they're all Mega Man.
Yeah, to them, to Capcom, it's
Yeah.
like no, this is Mega Man. That's the IP. They do whore it out a bit though.
Yeah. There was something about Mega Man 11 that was supposed to be like super, like Jeremy Parrish and some people were. I did a podcast. I didn't listen to it, but they were like, we got opinions about Mega Man 11. Buckle up. Like it's we're just telling you our opinion. I mean, I don't know what that was. Okay.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, I miss the Capcom beat 'em ups, but it's just like there's no market for that anymore. I mean, it'd be right there with Tech Romancer and the stuff that doesn't make any sense to make. It's like,
I was honestly surprised going back to research this, looking at old Capcom IP, that there wasn't more to choose from.
Yeah, there's not a ton. They did a lot of licensed stuff back in the day. I mean, Alien vs. Predator is one of the best side-scrolling beat-em-ups of all time.
Yeah.
Which I think that ended up in a collection recently, didn't it? I remember that. They brought that back in something, or they showed that was going to be in something.
I don't remember that.
I definitely, because I remember being surprised they actually were going to do that.
Because
I thought we'd never see
issues
that
with
again.
that make it
Exactly.
tough. Yeah.
But I saw that was going to be in something. Did that never come out, or did I forget to buy that? Like, what happened?
So I don't know if it's that Capcom just, in hindsight, didn't have a lot of great IP, or Capcom has just done a pretty good job of keeping the IP that actually matters going.
Well, I mean, remember, they leaned pretty hard on 3 main IPs for a while. It was Mega Man, Street Fighter, and Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And they made so many permutations of those 3 things, the argument could be made that everything else was just gravy.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, everything else is just experimentation.
Yep, I don't think it'll be too long until we see.
This chat's right. It was going to be in one of those 1-up arcade cabinets.
Yeah, there you go.
Which I was like, I'm not going to spend $200 to
play an emulator,
but,
basically to play an emulator.
Yeah, but it's cool that they got it back.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah, I suspect we'll be seeing news on a Resident Evil 3 remaster coming up soon. So,
but in terms of these, like the resurrecting old IP, like the most obvious and most likely is going to be Dino Crisis. The other thing that wouldn't surprise me to see come back, and Monster Hunter, obviously. Monster Hunter is one of their other pillars now in at least the last 15
it's
years.
like the pillar now.
Speaking
of which,
the other thing wouldn't
surprised that wasn't one of the top selling
really
games of the year.
Doesn't really surprise me. I don't think that thing sells the way the fans of that franchise want to think it sells. At least not in terms of the grander scheme of things. But,
yeah, it's interesting. Bring that up. Like, I would have thought it would have been one of the best of the year.
But, what was the other thing I was thinking? It wouldn't surprise me to see them try to revamp Lost Planet into some kind of Monster Hunter-ish thing.
Another IP that they drove into the ground, though, with poor output.
Well, they couldn't decide what to make. I mean, the first game was like a single-player adventure action game shooter.
And it was weird.
With like some weird survival elements.
Yeah.
And then the second one was actually more of a Monster Hunter co-op thing.
It was, yeah.
And then the third one was terrible. Like, and didn't really. It was like it was almost. Actually,
it followed the same. That franchise followed the same exact arc as Dead Space. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Dead Space followed the same horrible downhill roll.
Yeah. First one, very innovative, interesting, has some problems. Second one kind of nails it.
But also, like, that's not really what you did the first time.
Yeah.
Interesting. And the third one's just like, someone with a tie showed up to the meeting on this one and changed a lot of things.
Yeah. Someone says, wasn't there an anime Lost
they did.
Planet?
I think they did do an anime out of that.
Interesting.
Like, Lost Planet had its moment, for sure.
Yeah. It was huge. I remember the first game. Like, I was hyped for that game.
Yeah.
Like, the way that they marketed it with the trailers and everything.
And the way that, like, you know, it was very big open areas for the time.
Yeah.
The snow tech was pretty
looked
good.
Amazing, yeah.
Like, having to keep your guy alive with, like, the warming power-ups was like a big thing, you know, and like these huge monsters, you can get in big mechs and run around. I mean, there was a lot of stuff to like in that game.
And then it jumped the shark.
Yeah.
Just like the fawns. So anyway, that's it. That's our picks for Cap Combies.
Capcom.
Of those, probably none of them will ever happen, and I think the safe bet is absolutely on Dino Crisis. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Grand Theft Auto 6. And you may be asking, why in the hell are Shane and Matt talking about Grand Theft Auto 6.
That's what I asked when I got
That's
here.
what Matt asked when he looked at the rundown. And then I shared with him that this week, the voice actor who plays Trevor, who, this is not the first time that one of his quotes has made news. Mm-hmm. He, I don't think he still, after all this time, quite gets how Rockstar operates. I don't know how that's possible. I had a friend that worked at Rockstar who worked with him, who said he was crazy.
I mean,
in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, but it also seems like it doesn't seem like the jump from knowing this guy to this guy could play Trevor is that huge.
No, he is kind of the character already.
It seems like he's a pretty natural pick to play this heightened version of like what you imagine he might be.
Yep, but he is a smart guy. That is kind of the first thing that my friend said about. I guess he is. I think they've.
Trevor's smart. He's just a murderous monster.
Yeah, I guess they do portray him to be pretty intelligent. Actually, now that I think about it, it's been a while since I played played the game. But my friend said he was really smart. Like smart, he's one of those people you meet and you're like, damn, that guy's like smart as a whip. So this guy is not a fool, and he's worked around Rockstar for years and years at this point, and he still hasn't learned that you don't go spouting stuff off in public. So
Or he's trying to kick him in the ass and make him do something.
that, or it was all part of a plan
That could be too.
from Rockstar. So he was on a panel, and people asked him, hey, like, what the hell is going on with Grand Theft Auto 6? And he said, oh, that's coming out in the next year or two. It's been 6 or 7 years. It's a Rockstar game. Do the math. What do you think, Matt?
Well, my initial instinct is that he doesn't really know how Rockstar does math. I wouldn't be super surprised if we saw it for the first time next year. I don't think it's coming out next year like that. I still think that game's years out.
How huge would it be, though,
If it was a surprise PS5 launch title or something?
or if it was a bridge game?
Yeah.
It comes out, and you can play it on PS4 and Xbox One, or you can play it on PS5 and Xbox 2. I mean, Rockstar is very good at that, and that is Rockstar's MO.
It would surprise me to see it that soon after Red Dead Redemption 2.
I mean, I would venture to guess that Rockstar has made more money off of the updated version of Grand Theft Auto 5. In other words, copies that have been sold for Xbox One and PS4 than it did off of the original release for Xbox 360.
I think that's for sure. And then when you factor in how much money they've made off of GTA Online, in addition to that, on the current systems, like, oh, no question. I mean, it's probably literally multiples.
I mean, you can see from those NPD charts that when people buy a console, they buy Grand
GTA
Theft Auto 5.
Yeah.
It's crazy after all this time.
I bought it twice.
Did you?
I bought it twice and I finished it twice.
Did
Like,
you?
That didn't happen all that often.
Yeah, I didn't.
I didn't even like it that much. Like, I mean, I like it, but I didn't San Andreas love it. You know, San
Yeah.
Andreas is still my favorite GTA game. But I did go through the whole thing again. I played online. I played the heist stuff. I did pretty much everything up until the heist update. I played pretty much all the content that was there with my online crew, and then we never really went back to it again. But got to level 100 and the whole thing. The whole deal, all the trophies, the whole deal. But I don't do that all the time. And I'd already finished it on 360.
It's a long game, too.
It is.
It was a big game. I only finished it once. I had to finish it for review, and then I was done, and I had to move on.
I didn't intend to finish it again, but I just did.
It just fell into it.
Through it.
It does suck you in, though.
It's like when I started up Skyrim Special Edition just to see what it looked like, and then I'd played 80 hours of it.
Yeah. It happens, especially when you're talking about games as good as this one, and it is great. So do you think that this is going to happen? Initially, you sounded like 100% no.
I still don't believe it's coming out next year. I mean, it would be nice if it was a big surprise like that, but I think we'll see it next year. If what he's saying is true there, I think we'll see the game. They'll show it or admit it. We'll see a freaking title or something, like what they did with Red Dead Redemption 2, where they put up the red background with the Rockstar logo, and then they put up a logo for the game, and then we saw a trailer a couple months after that or something like that. I could see them start doing that next year, but do I think GTA 6 is going to come out in 2020? No, I do not.
What % chance would you give GTA 6 of coming out next year?
8%.
8?
Better than Power Stone.
I would give it way more than that. I would give it at least 15 to 20% chance. I mean, he's right. Do the math. It's time.
But I think they've been all hands on deck with Red Dead Redemption for so long that they've only just started focusing on this in the last year and a half.
I wonder, too, if it's going to be a sequel to Grand Theft Auto 5, or if it's going to be...
It'll be its own thing. I mean, they're all technically sequels to each other. They're all in the same world, and they share some characters here and there.
Yeah, some will
it's not
transfer
gonna be,
over.
It's not gonna be the same characters. It's not gonna be a direct sequel. You're not gonna play the same characters.
You don't think Trevor will be in the game?
I think he'll be in the game, but I don't know if he'll play as him.
Huh.
That's never happened before, really.
I'm just trying to figure out if we should rely on information from him.
I mean, I'm sure he's in it, but he might just be in it to get killed. That's what they.
That's
what they
true.
Did with,
that does happen.
Yeah, that's what they did with the guy from Lost and Damned.
Yeah.
I think that's Trevor who kills him, actually.
It is, yeah.
In the first scene.
Yeah. Welcome back.
Welcome
Adios.
back to GTA. Hey, there's that character you like. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's GTA. It's GTA. You're all dead.
Now, I don't know if you remember or not, but 2K just recently said that it is changing its ways, that it is going to start producing more. And it also specifically mentioned that it needs to get more output from studios like Rockstar. I don't know. It seems like a lot of signs are pointing towards something next year. Like you said, maybe at the very least we just get like the first trailer or whatever.
Yeah, we'll know it's coming, but I would be very
The timing
surprised.
is so perfect, though, for it to release for both generations of consoles at once. I don't know. It just feels like the stars are aligning.
But the stars don't line up with how Rockstar functions. Like that's not how they make games. They go all hands on deck, and then they go to the next project all hands on deck. Like I mean, I know everyone says like, oh, 6-7 years. Most of that time was spent making RDR2. Like that, there's not been enough time to make GTA 6. Like that, I still think that game is at least 2 years out, if not more. I do think we'll be playing it before Starfield, though.
I mean, do you realize we went...
or at least before Elder Scrolls 6.
I mean, do you realize we just went a whole generation of consoles without a GTA?
Yeah.
Think about that.
But it certainly didn't hurt them at the cash register, did it?
It absolutely didn't, but it's still crazy.
I mean, I think they do want to get this thing out early-ish in the generation so they can do the same thing again.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be that fast.
How long can they wait to do that?
I would say you want that out by the end of 2021.
Yeah, like a year.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be within a year of Gen 9 consoles launching.
I would think so. I think you want it for the holiday season, the second holiday season of the new consoles.
Yeah.
At worst.
Maybe
March. You know, because when did 5 come out?
That's a good question.
What was its release date?
I can look it up here. Yeah, I mean, to me, that makes the most sense. The game coming out within the first year of Generation 9. Let's see. Grand Theft Auto 5 came out September 17th of 2013.
And that's the 360 version.
Yeah.
360 PS3. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see that. I could see a fall 2021 release. I mean, a fall 2020 release wouldn't be terrible either. It would also possibly explain why Sony's been so lackadaisical about this shit, because they know that they got a GTA game in the pipeline for the launch of their new system, and they're not worried about anything.
That would put your mind at ease, absolutely. Especially if somehow, which I find it very hard to believe with the current climate with Rockstar, but if somehow PlayStation got some kind of exclusivity on it.
Yeah, I would doubt that.
I mean, that would probably just end the Generation 9 console war just right there.
Yeah, I mean, I would doubt that, but at the same time, you never know. You never know what 2K might do for enough money.
Yeah, I would put that at like a 5% chance at best.
That would be a nuclear option.
Especially because we're seeing Rockstar do the exact opposite now. We're seeing it start to realize, hey, you know what? If we put our stuff out on everything, it sells on everything.
Although that philosophy mostly seems to apply to L.A. Noire at this point.
No, you're right. It's the one franchise that's kind of been hoard out to every platform at this point, and VR, and everything. Yeah, mobile. I even think it's on at this point.
There's no doubt when it comes to L.A. Noire.
Yeah, but I mean, you're seeing with like Red Dead Redemption 2 that, you know, it came out for both consoles and it's coming to PC, and
a year and a half later.
It's still coming to PC though. And how long did it take for Rockstar to get GTA 5 out on PC?
Did that come out around the same time as the next gen ports? It's about a year. It takes about a year to put things on PC.
Yeah.
So they're about on. I mean, there's very little to indicate that this isn't just business as usual. Still happening.
Yeah, to give PlayStation exclusivity, do you think that would be smart for Rockstar? I mean, it would all depend on how much money Sony gives them, I guess.
Yeah, it's just if Sony pays you enough, sure.
Because Sony could buy the next generation essentially by locking this game down. But imagine
how they got in.
But imagine the kind of money you would have to give Rockstar. It'll never happen.
You'd have to give them basically the budget of a AAA game.
You'd have to give them more.
You'd have to replace it.
Because you start thinking about the money that GTA Online brings in.
Well, you'd make it a timed thing.
Like a year max. Yeah. But that's all you'd need.
That's enough. Yeah.
That's all you'd need at the launch of Generation 9 consoles. I mean, maybe Microsoft does it. Who knows? I don't know why we're just assuming it would be PlayStation.
I am just because I associate PlayStation with the franchise.
Yeah. But
that doesn't mean anything.
Right. I mean, absolutely. Microsoft could jump in and be the money hat.
I just don't feel like Rockstar would be willing
I don't either.
to play favorites that way. I think they think they're too cool for that.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's just that they can make way more money. Like, especially if they have GTA Online,
if
the next
online's
rev
your
of
plan,
it.
then it makes more sense to be on all the platforms.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you can.
Yep. So anyway, it's a glimmer of hope, people, that it won't be that long until we finally get a look at the next one.
The other thing it might be that he thinks he's talking about is maybe they did new voice recording for an update of GTA 5 that goes on the Switch.
Oh, gosh.
Because there's no reason the 360 PS3 version couldn't be put on the Switch.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I'm surprised it's not there already.
So let's say next year they put out a GTA 5 Switch version with some like new missions or some new content.
That's possible.
Like, and he had to record some lines for it, but he thought it was the next one.
It's possible.
Voice actors don't always know what the hell.
No,
they're
they
doing
don't. I mean, a lot of times voice actors go in and record, and their stuff never even appears in the game.
Yeah.
So you can't always trust that stuff. But Trevor's been working with those boys for quite a while now.
Yeah, but at the same time, Rockstar plays stuff pretty close to the vest.
Yeah.
Maybe they told him the wrong thing to see if he'd say anything. You
Yeah.
never know. These guys are shady.
Yeah, my buddy who worked at Rockstar, he worked in the audio department, and he said he recorded hours and hours of voiceover that never appeared in the game. Mm-hmm. He said he worked for hours and hours with people who got paid and never ended up in the game. So he's like, even I really don't know what gets cut in the final cut until
I definitely feel like
game.
Rockstar must run a very compartmentalized system.
Oh,
so
yeah.
no one knows what the full picture is at any time except like the Housers.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody likes working there. Looks good on your resume, but it's not so great while it's happening. But anyway, that's
the Naughty Dog thing. It's like you just want to say you were there.
Yeah.
So you can get your job anywhere you want.
Pretty much.
It's a stepping stone on the way to Insomniac, basically.
Yeah, to someplace that makes great games where you actually want to work.
Someplace great games that understands that we're all human beings.
Yeah, we have to eat and sleep.
We need sleep, and sometimes they give you muffins.
Yeah.
Insomniac's great.
It is great. So anyway, that's it. That's the latest update on Grand Theft Auto 6. I mean, it's the biggest video game franchise in the world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Pokemon's bigger in terms of full-size franchise because GTA doesn't have all the multimedia stuff.
Well, it doesn't release every year or whatever. Right. There's always a Pokemon something coming out.
But it is GTA at the very least is one of those things, one of the few gaming acronyms or abbreviations you can say to almost anyone and they know exactly
what you mean. Yeah. So it may not be all that long, people. It shouldn't be all that long. We waited a damn long time for the next Grand Theft Auto. I'd like to play it before I die. That would be nice. All right, let's move on. We're going to follow up.
It'll be out before Star Citizen. How about that?
Nah, I don't know. That'd be a good bet. Which one comes out first?
Well, I'm pretty sure GTA exists in a form beyond some weird, like, alpha thing that doesn't work properly. So yeah. I bet on GTA for that one.
I probably would, too. We're going to follow up on a story that we talked about on GameFace a few months ago. You guys may remember the the World Health Organization. Is that what it was?
No, it was some other. It was the DHA or something like that. It was
the World Health Organization. Yeah,
but it was supposed to be in some like international text thing that acknowledges what are and are not disorders. But it doesn't determine what like the medical industry has to do. It's just sort of a reference thing.
Yeah, but the World Health Organization deemed gaming disorder as a legitimate ailment. Mm-hmm. And that was a huge thing because now all of a sudden the people who are saying games are bad for people, they have this thing to point to say, see, we were right all along. The World Health Organization, it's not influenced by anyone. It's saying that gaming addiction is a real thing. And when Matt and I discussed it, I mean, I thought it was a joke. I think what I said back then was these people, sure, they're addicted to games, but if it wasn't games, it would be something else because they have a hole in their life somewhere that they're filling up with something else. And
right. It's like just like alcohol or drugs or gambling or what have you. It's like it's not the outward expression of it isn't the disorder. The disorder is what causes that expression to happen.
Yep.
It's not specific to what they're doing. You know, it might be maybe personality driven by what they prefer. You know, maybe someone's but it could be anything. It could be someone who obsessively drinks tea. Like I just saw, I think, a Vox or a Vice video about a guy who's only eaten mac and cheese for the last 20 years of his life.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like, I mean, that's the similar thing. It's not Kraft's fault that they make the thing he eats.
Right.
The problem is that he's got some disorder that makes him behave that way.
Or he lacks self-control.
Like we don't need to put warnings.
Impulsive.
Yeah, we don't need to put warnings on the mac and cheese boxes because of this. We need to address what's wrong with him.
Yeah, psychologically. So anyway, that was a big deal.
And they did, by the way. He's apparently doing very well and has lost like 80 pounds working with a nutritionist.
Oh, wow.
Like there was a follow-up to that story. He's doing good.
Okay.
You can treat this stuff.
Okay, that's good to hear. So Matt and I rejected the WHO's determination immediately, but this week we've been backed up by science. Oxford University says that gaming disorder does not exist.
The oldest university.
Yep.
And if anyone would be all about them damn kids, it would be Oxford University.
Yeah. I mean, call me crazy, but Oxford University tends to be a source that I trust.
Yeah, they've been around a while.
Yeah, are they like the oldest university in the world?
They're up there. I mean, I think in the oldest university in England.
Yeah.
They're very old for Europe.
Yes,
I think there's schools that are older in like, probably China.
Yeah.
Or Japan. Like
their reputation is basically beyond reproach. Mm-hmm. And it put out a statement that I'm going to read for you guys right now. The World Health Organization and the American Psychiatric Association have called on researchers to investigate the clinical relevance of dysregulated video gaming among adolescents, as previous studies have failed to examine the wider context of what is going on in these young people's lives. This is something we seek to address with our new study. For the first time, we apply motivational theory and open science principles to investigate if psychological need satisfactions and frustrations in adolescents' daily lives are linked to dysregulated or obsessive gaming engagements. Our findings provided no evidence suggesting an unhealthy relationship with gaming accounts for substantial emotional, peer, and behavioral problems. Instead, variations in gaming experience are much more likely to be linked to whether adolescents' basic psychological needs for competence, autonomy, and social belonging are being met, and if they are already experiencing wider functioning issues. In light of our findings, we do not believe sufficient evidence exists to warrant thinking about gaming as a clinical disorder in its own right. Bam. There it is.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly what we said. These people have other problems in their lives, and they're using gaming as the crutch.
It's a symptom, not the disease. However, like the WHO isn't wrong to call out gaming disorder as a thing you can see as a starting point. Like it's not to call it out as a disorder in and of itself is wrong, but also alcoholism is not wrong to call it as a disorder, even though there's probably underlying psychological issues that cause you to fall into that. It's just no one wants to see nuance on that. But like the question of doing anything obsessively is a sign of a deeper psychological problem, and it doesn't really reflect on the thing you're doing obsessively. You know, it's like hoarders don't give cardboard boxes a bad name.
That's a great analogy.
So it's just, but you know, the gaming disorder thing was picked up by the press because they love to have something, not just press, but like kind of our parents' generation in particular love to have something to blame that isn't themselves.
Well, they've been blaming games all along, is what it is. Like, somewhat,
but it's also
parents have been blaming games for everything, for their lack of parenting.
Well, this is also just a way to kind of like absolve them. He's like, oh well. It's the games that did it, but
right.
I think even at the time we said, the game, you can be addicted to games, but it's a symptom of something deeper. And when you go into that version of it, when you talk about, it's a symptom of something deeper, it's like, a symptom of something deeper that you should have noticed in your child. So that's why there's resistance to that interpretation of it, because then you right back around to the responsibility that you were trying to dodge by playing.
I mean, the WHO determination basically let lazy parents off the hook. Parents who are using games to babysit their kids, and they're not raising their kids the way that they should, and their kids turn out crappy or they're addicted to gaming. Now it's not their fault for not providing alternative activities for their kid. Yeah. It's the game's fault.
But also remember, I'm not as incensed about that as you are, I guess, because I don't find it particularly concerning or interesting, in part because the WHO's thing is a suggestion. It's not policy. It's not something it's not law. It's not something that American psychiatric practices have to follow or even acknowledge if they don't want to. It's just a thing these guys decided to say because it's probably run by a bunch of old white dudes who don't actually know what a video game is, besides that they see their grandchildren staring at screens all the time.
The reason it gets me pissed
off... What you really should be regulating is YouTube. Because that's what they're watching, I promise.
No, you're right. The reason it gets me pissed off is because when stuff like this comes out, it does change perception. So my mom sends me the article. Oh, interesting, ... link. Mm-hmm. I'm like, and then I have to go through this. Next time I talk to her on the phone, I have to go through this like 30-minute diatribe about why it's all BS and that's crazy. And after like 5 minutes, she's just like tunes out because she's like, am I going to listen to you or am I going to listen to the World Health Organization?
I don't know. Do you listen to the World Health Organization when you talk about vaccines? It's one or the other.
Why? Did they not believe in vaccines?
No, they do. Oh. But like people who don't believe in vaccines will often do the things like, well, they'll
right. But my mom's sane, Matt. I'm saying sane people get fooled by this crap.
I don't know. I heard some stories
about my mom. You talk about my mom, Matt? We're gonna start throwing out some mom jokes here. Is that what we're doing? No, but seriously, like my mom is a level-headed person, and she sees World Health Organization says gaming addiction is real. That's all she needs to hear. If she hears when I try to like rebut it. She's like, well, you work in games. Of course you're going to say they're not addicted.
Yeah, but also when we talked about it before, you suspected maybe you were addicted to games.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So no?
So no what?
Like, are you not? Or
I still don't know. Like, I honestly don't know. Like, I feel like I'm compelled to play games a lot of the time. And if I don't have a game to play, I feel empty sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the WHO thing that I think is annoying is, like, in terms of the response to it is, like, if they thought gaming itself was the disorder, they wouldn't have to tag disorder off after game.
Right.
You know, it's not. They're not saying all games are bad. Hashtag not all games. Like I don't know why that's a thing people do all the time, where you complain about a specific instance of a certain kinds of people or certain people you've dealt with or certain games or whatever subject, and everyone just assumes you mean every single thing that could possibly be categorized.
No, that is the way it is in modern society. Everyone is that way. Like if you make a statement, it just covers everything. Mm-hmm. Like there's no specificity anymore. It's like if you say something, oh, then you mean everybody's like that. No, that's not what I said actually. For whatever reason, people
It's like when I complain about Prius drivers, and someone who has a Prius is like, I'm like, first off, I've never seen you drive. So maybe you are like that and you don't know. Second, I'm clearly just talking about the Prius drivers that do stupid shit, and I noticed Prius drivers doing stupid shit more often because there are so many Priuses.
Right.
You are more people that can be doing stupid shit.
It's the law of averages.
I don't notice the Priuses that don't do stupid shit.
Yeah.
So, like,
I'm not talking about you. It may not be you.
And if you're so upset about that, it makes me wonder what you did on the way here.
That's true.
If I ain't talking about you, then I ain't talking about you, right? It's like Chris Rock has a thing about that where he's like, he asked some girl who was dancing in a club to some song. It was just like the lyrics were just something like slap her with a dick, slap her with a dick, slap her with a dick. And he's like, why are you dancing with this like this misogynistic song about slapping a girl with a dick? And she's like, he ain't talking about me. And, and I'm like, you know what? That's a really healthy attitude when you get down to it.
It is, yeah. So
I mean, it's still kind of a gross song.
It is.
If you can't leave the club and you want to dance, you got to come up with a reason.
You have to come up with some excuse why you can tolerate the music. It's encouraging to see a respected. And look, my mom will probably never see the follow-up report from Oxford.
Also, think about the WHO. It's like, okay, like this, we acknowledge this as a disorder. Okay, and.
Yeah.
Is there treatment? Do you do anything about it? Like,
remember last time we talked about those crazy, like, halfway houses for gamers where people were paying $50,000 a month to go and live in these houses with other people who were quote unquote addicted to games.
Yeah, but I mean, this is again pretty much just a rehab for them. I mean, you can be addicted to video games. Like it's just not. It's not the game's fault that you're addicted to games. It's not the point of games to addict people to them beyond you want people to enjoy them enough to buy them again.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there are games that, you know, the microtransaction stuff and that kind of, and the loot box thing do exploit, a compulsive element of your personality. But that's not the same thing as games being bad. That's a business practice.
Yeah.
You know, you can put that in anything. You could put that in a word processing program if you wanted to, like, make people pay for a loot box every time you wanted to type the letter S, for that matter.
Like, I think part of my problem...
Don't take that, Microsoft. Don't put that in Word.
Oh, by the way, Matt, it turns out that the first game was against bots.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you found out all about that. Yeah.
Well,
That's a big expose now.
It's like
but it's a big expose thing now. Mm-hmm. Like, Polygon put up a big article today. The first game is against bots. No, it's 90 bots and 10 humans.
10 people? All right.
Yep, in the first game. So, yeah, that was a game against mostly bots, the first one that I won.
Well, you did better than 10 people.
I did. I killed 9. I did better than 9 other humans. Second game I won, or almost won. I got second. I'll take it. And I'll probably never play it again. But anyway, I agree. Like, I think you nailed it. It's not that the games are causing the addiction. There's something else in your life that is causing you to become addicted to the games.
And if you are in that situation, it's not like you can say, like, oh, the games are the problem. I can keep playing it. Like, no, like there's also nothing wrong with alcohol for most people, but alcoholics can't drink it.
Well, I think what happens is if you take the games away from that person, they'll find something else to be compulsive about.
Well, not if you do it right, not if you treat them right. I mean, it's like alcoholics don't necessarily suddenly become addicted to something else because you took away the alcohol or they quit alcohol.
Some of them do.
Some do, but like you want it to be a healthier thing, and so maybe get somebody addicted to jogging or something. You know?
That's hard to become addicted to.
A lot of 12-step people do like turn to like exercise or something to take up the time like that. Though.
Yeah.
That is a valid
because a lot of people, a lot of drug addicts get the endorphin high.
Yeah,
and that's some semblance of a replacement for what they're getting.
And it could be a replace. The video games press that dopamine button over and over again. With the reward center, it could be a similar thing.
Yeah, it's true. So anyway. Regardless, it's a glorious day for our favorite medium. Even though most people who saw that WHO report will never, ever see Oxford's report, at least we know inside.
Yeah, well, certainly various places that reported on the WHO thing are not going to suddenly be like, oh, hey, we were wrong. Games were fine. Everybody play Mario. It's like, that's not news. That's not going to get anybody click.
It also sounds like the WHO should have taken a little more time before it released its statement.
Well, the WHO probably should have known that there was a deeper thing there, but also they might have just been acknowledging it as a form of that disorder. I mean, there's a separate disorder for alcohol. There's a separate disorder for alcohol addiction and drug addiction. I mean, those are all separate things listed in that thing. Like it's acknowledging that yes, you can be addicted to games does not mean that like you're necessarily blaming the games, but they didn't clarify any of that.
A couple good comments in the chat. One from Zakalia Seldom. We all need varied activities. Having only one interest is not healthy in the long run. That's absolutely accurate. And I think that is my problem, is that I am forced into having one interest because of my job. Like, even when I worked at GT, I had a team of people who were helping, pitch in and do stuff. I didn't have to do everything. And with Sifted, like, I have to do everything. So it's like every fiber of my being is somehow tied into video games, like 24/7. And so I think it makes sense that I would become obsessive compulsive about games. Like, the only other thing that I really do is fantasy football. And I'm pretty obsessive compulsive about that too. So I think that's just human nature.
Stories are legendary.
But you don't blame fantasy football and you don't blame the games. That's my problem. It's because I don't have balance in my life right now, and so that's where I am where I'm at. So great comment. Snub Barracuda says, they send you to a shack in Mexico and feed you magic mushrooms for a week until Satan convinces you to quit.
As the original premise of Ring Fit Adventure.
Yeah, which we're going to get to in a bit. I think that's what those ayahuasca rituals. I think that's what he's talking about.
That the Vsauce guy did.
Walking Dragoon, Shane should do MMA fighting out of that aggression. Nope, that's not happening. What about the wife, Shane, from Eric Cartmenez? I don't know what that even means.
As in, like, isn't she a varied interest?
She is, but I see her for like an hour a night. It's like she works late, I work late, we have dinner together, and then we go to sleep. And then I don't really see her until the weekends. So, But you're right. She is a good balance in a lot of the other moments of my life. But
boxing.
And for boxing, yeah, I've heard that as well.
Sessler's been doing boxing for like 8-9 years.
I know.
He's really good.
Yeah, he loves it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to him, and
he's the least confrontational person I think I've ever known.
He's also probably the last person I would ever guess that would be in boxing class. But I don't know if you know or not, but boxing's like a thing right now for fitness.
Yeah.
Like, we had some relatives in town a couple weekends ago, and we took them out to lunch on a Saturday. And right next to the restaurant we went to was a boxing gym. And it was like all these millennials with their phones out taking selfies of them with their boxing glove. Like, it's like...
I mean, that's what gyms are in general now.
In L.A., it's just like a trend. Yeah. It's like, it's Muay Thai, and then it's boxing, and then it's like hot...
For a while, it was Krav Maga.
Yeah, and then it's like, hot yoga. Like, that's just L.A. in general.
Fuck hot yoga.
It's just like all these little trends that come and go, and then there's restaurants that are like that. They're here for a week, and then they're gone. It's crazy. Living here, you get to experience everything, but you also get to see that few things actually stand the test of time.
There was the Peloton trend.
Yeah. I think that's still a thing, actually.
I mean, it's still a thing for
people
who
can afford it.
$5,000 on the bike. But you notice that those guys are not doing well. That company's not doing well.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Who knew selling one item that cost $6,000 didn't get you rich?
Yeah. When there aren't that many rich people. That's
Right.
the problem. The wage disparity is
And
so
also,
bad.
a lot of rich people are like, I got rich so I didn't have to do hard
Right,
work.
yeah, I'll have somebody else ride a bike for me.
Yeah, it's a very LA business model.
It is, for sure. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Blizzard again, because Blizzard earned it again.
Also, just never fight Sessler.
Why?
Because he's good at boxing.
Because he'll cut you with his sharp elbows.
He's in good shape these days. He's a
little dude, though.
He is a little dude, but like he'll break your fucking sternum.
He might.
I wouldn't want to fight him.
I just don't fight Sessler because he's an awesome guy
Well, yes.
who doesn't want to fight anybody, and you don't want to fight him
But
either.
there's a lot of people get angry with him on Twitter, and I'm just saying, like,
So ridiculous.
don't try it.
Yeah.
Don't try it.
It's so ridiculous. That's the thing about, like, when you know public figures in your personal life and you see how they're treated online and you know, like, how they are personally, it's so weird. It's like why my family is like, I don't understand. Like, you, like, will do anything for anyone, and I go online and there's all these people that hate you, and I'm like, they don't know you. Like, they just know what they see or what someone tells them they should believe or whatever. So, anyway, does Sessler wear pants when boxing? That's not a given.
I mean, shorts.
Yeah, so he doesn't wear pants. He wears boxing shorts.
Boxing shorts.
Yeah. There's a difference between boxers and
boxing
boxing shorts.
Well, then if the person asking that's from England, that's a totally different question.
That's true. That's a good point.
You're asking if Sessler boxes al fresco. That I do not know.
Yeah, free balling. All right, let's move on to Blizzard. Blizzard's been in the news for the last month, it seems like, at least. We've talked about it in the last couple episodes of GameFace, and rightfully so, because it just can't seem to get out of its own way at this point. The thing is its biggest event of the year is coming up next Friday on November 1st. BlizzCon 2019 is launching. There are rumors swirling that there are going to be big announcements at this BlizzCon. If you guys remember last year, everyone thought Diablo 4 was going to be shown off. It wasn't. Instead, they showed a mobile game.
Which, is that even out yet?
It's not out yet, called Diablo Immortal. The game actually doesn't look that bad, the mobile game. It's just that people were so expecting to see Diablo 4 that when they got the mobile stuff, they thought it was bait and switch and got really angry. So people hated BlizzCon last year. In light of what's been going on with Blizzard and China and Tencent over the last couple weeks, it's pretty much guaranteed that BlizzCon, I think on day one, is going to have a major protest going on.
Yeah, almost certainly.
As we've learned in our current political...
We'll see how long that lasts in Disneytown.
Yeah, for sure. As we've learned in our recent political climate, what do people or entities tend to do when negative attention is placed upon them?
I mean, usually you go quiet.
Do you?
After your half-assed apology, yes, you pretend it's not happening.
Or do you distract with something else? Do you give the people something to look at or talk about or think about to distract them from something else that you want them to forget about?
I mean, you could try, but I don't know if Diablo 4 is the answer to that.
You don't think?
I think too many people remember how Diablo 3 launched. Like, Diablo 4 is just going to make people like, maybe, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if you're going to create the hype so much as a lot of, concern.
So what started this? What spurred on this topic on this episode of GameFace is Twitter user @Metro_OW, who is a notorious Blizzard leaker. He has predicted a handful of different Blizzard announcements in the last couple years before Blizzard made the announcement. So he is about as reliable a leaker of Blizzard information as it gets at this point. And a lot of that is because a lot of the people who used to be there, who journalists were getting their stories from, left because Blizzard has turned into, I'll use my words carefully there, has turned into a less desirable place to work over the last couple of years. Is that fair?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Is that fair to say? So Metro_OW has predicted that Diablo 4 will absolutely be shown. But not only that, Overwatch 2, and he actually just doubled down on that yesterday. People were questioning him, saying Overwatch 2 is insane, and he doubled down on it yesterday, saying, no, I'm right. I'll double down on it right now. Overwatch 2 is going to be shown, and a Diablo 2 remaster.
There's only one thing in there that would interest me. Off the bat.
Diablo 2 Remaster.
Yes.
Which is funny. It's the last one I put in on the list, but you're right. For a lot of people, that would be the one that people would...
Diablo 4 would be a giant glowing neon wait and see.
You mean for you personally as to whether you care to play it?
I think for a lot more than just me, but for me personally, like Diablo 4, you're going to have to show me what you're doing. Because I like Diablo 3. I enjoyed Diablo 3 after they figured it out, took the auction house out, kind of like patched some things together and balanced everything. And also, I think the console versions are better. I think they control better with a controller, which I never thought I'd say. But like I do think the rune system sort of took away some of the character building fun. Like I get why that's there the way it is, but I really like a skill tree a little better.
Mm-hmm. I think most people would agree with you on that one.
So I don't know. I'd like to see a little more back to basics on this one. Like, you know, like I don't know. I don't think you need to reinvent the wheel too hard on this.
Yeah. Getting back to kind of the point of what I was talking about, though. I mean, to me, it makes sense that Blizzard would be like, you know what, we thought about maybe not showing Overwatch 2 or letting people know about this for a couple of years, but we need something big. Because you're going to need something to remind people that they love you. Mm-hmm. I mean, despite all the stuff that's happened with Blizzard, it has millions and millions of hardcore fans who, in my opinion, I think would love to have a reason to forget about all the bad stuff Blizzard's done over the last couple of weeks by being able to experience one of its upcoming games for the first time. Do you think that could happen? Say Blizzard does come out, shows Diablo 4, Overwatch 2, a remaster of Diablo 2, and maybe tosses something else in there as well. Because there's also rumors that it's working on a shooter based on some of its other IP. Mm-hmm. Do you think that would work if it just came out and was like, blow, here's 4 or 5 brand new games that you guys have all been freaking out over for the last half decade?
Probably not.
You don't think it works?
Hong Kong is a bigger deal than anything Blizzard can announce.
It is, absolutely.
Like,
but do you think that the average Blizzard fan in America cares enough about what's going on in Hong Kong?
They care enough to make Blizzard notice
right.
already. Like, I don't, and again, it doesn't matter. Like, by the time Diablo 4 comes out, this Hong Kong thing will probably be resolved one way or the other.
Will it?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, Diablo 4 is probably a long way out. You got years probably. I don't think it'll be enough.
Is there anything Blizzard could do at BlizzCon that would be enough?
I mean, you could release Diablo 4 and give it to everyone. Like,
do you think that's like, seriously, you think that's like what it would take?
Something like that. Yeah. Like, you'd have to, the goodwill would be required, would be like something you'd have to do something on the level of like putting like the 2004 Twilight Princess trailer that like brought down the house. Like, and I don't think Blizzard has anything of that magnitude. Like, one of the reasons that worked is because that was what people were asking for almost 10 years.
Like, there are things it could do. World of Warcraft 2.
Nobody cares. I mean,
really?
You
don't think that would just rock the foundation?
No, not at all. Like, because everyone would just be skeptical. Like, that's the thing about the Blizzard fandom is, yes, they're all hardcore fans, but they all hate change.
Oh.
They're all afraid of the next one ruining things, and Diablo 3 like really brought that home for a lot of people. Like, anything that they announce that's a sequel or an update is going to be met with like, well, are you going to fuck it up like you did with Diablo 3?
What about like the next StarCraft? Would that have the power?
No.
I mean, Blizzard's done a pretty good job with StarCraft. It hasn't really
they've done
went
a good
off
job
the
with
rails.
StarCraft 2, but like StarCraft 2 is not the juggernaut that it used to be, that StarCraft once was. There's a lot of like kind of like not like negativity, but there's sort of like a side eye sort of skepticism about Overwatch League right now, where like Blizzard's only funding it so much, but they're starting to scale it back.
Yeah,
because
that's happened in a lot of esports tournaments.
It's like no one's making money off this shit. And Overwatch 2 would be a clear attempt to reboot that, basically. But then you're talking about like taking away this thing that like everybody's invested in, or they're going to get invested again when like they just decide to start over again. Like, there's no real right move. I mean, I guess the rightest move would be a new IP. But then you've got the question of like, will this be any good? Like, that's the thing is like you could open up speculation. You could open up like, oh, I wonder. But you're not going to open up a floodgate of like super fully positive hype that makes people forget that they are supporting an authoritarian regime that is trying to stifle free speech.
Yeah. I think the bigger takeaway...
Also, I can be excited about Diablo 4 and think that they're shitty
That's
for
true.
doing that to
That's
BlizzCon.
true.
Like,
Yeah.
you can,
it's not one or the other.
Your people's minds can hold multiple opinions. You can be both.
Yeah, but I think people are kind of at a crossroads mentally where they have to say, am I going to sacrifice my integrity to support this company? Mm-hmm. Because before, you're kind of able to be blissfully ignorant, where you're just like, I don't really know what's going on in Hong Kong and China, and I kind of know that Tencent owns a part of Blizz. Like, you could just kind of just let it wash over you and then just enjoy Blizzard's games. But not anymore. Now, I mean, look, there are lots of gamers who don't know anything about this, but the vast majority of hardcore gamers, hardcore Blizzard fans, know exactly what's going on now. Mm-hmm.
Look, the way they can
it has
stop
to do
this...
something drastic, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, the drastic thing is obvious. You unban BlitzChung and the other people you ban. You give everybody their prize money back, and you say you can say whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
Like, that's the solution, but they're not going to do that.
Why do you think they're not going to do it?
Because they don't want to piss China off, because China will basically shut them out of the country like they did with the NBA.
Yeah.
Now, to the NBA's credit, they basically told China to go fuck themselves.
They did,
like,
yeah.
You know, like, I didn't expect that.
All the while, though, lamenting the loss of money.
Yeah, lamenting the loss of all the money.
And also...
But they still did it.
Shaming some of the people who were responsible for it and not standing behind some of the people who were...
But they still refused to fire
They
the
did.
guy. I mean,
ultimately...
Which is more than I thought that guy would get.
That's true.
I say that guy because I don't remember his name because I don't care about the
Yeah.
NBA. But, like, that was more integrity than I expected the NBA to show. And not the NBA specifically, but any major sports organization trying to move into that market. That's more than I would expect.
Yeah.
And it's more than Blizzard's shown. So
what
maybe Blizzard could be more like the NBA.
Yeah, right. What do you think about Overwatch 2? I mean, do you think it's even a thing? Like, it's only been available for, what, 3 years now?
What,
it's only been
Overwatch?
out? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 3 years old in, like, April or May.
Yeah. It's not that old.
Yeah, I mean...
For a game as a service, a platform that I thought Blizzard at one point said it was going to last for 10 years.
That was the plan, I think.
I mean, do you need an Overwatch 2?
Overwatch League just didn't catch on the way... I mean, here's the thing. Overwatch 2 doesn't have to be a new esports title. Overwatch 2 could be a single-player game.
Right.
Overwatch 2 could be a Left 4
Well,
Dead
that's been the
style
rumor.
Game.
Is that
You could be doubling down on lore, which is the
Yeah.
one thing that the existing game does not provide in any great amount.
I mean, they've done, like, what we're seeing right now. Like, these cinematic trailers are amazing.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
They provide so much context for the characters, but you're right, there hasn't been a campaign that you could play through where you kind of experience this side of the IP.
Or hell, go completely nuts and be like, oh, you remember that Overwatch was sort of made out of, like, the leftover bits of this MMO we canceled? Well, we made the MMO.
But now all of a sudden it's called, like, Overwatch Online or something.
World of Overwatch.
World of Overwatch. I mean, that would be huge, though, I think.
Yeah.
Like, if
You
they're
got
basically
WoW
saying...
and Woo. Those are your,
right?
your two pillars.
Like, if they're basically saying, like, we're not going to make a World of Warcraft 2, this is basically World of Warcraft 2 with Overwatch characters.
Pretty much.
Like, that could be...
That could be your end run around having to ever make World of Warcraft 2.
I'm trying to wonder what the breaking point is, where the angry Blizzard fans bend the knee.
There isn't one.
Where they get to the point where they're like, you know what? You showed us enough at BlizzCon that we're going to let you off the hook for this other stuff. You don't think there is anything that can be done?
I mean, you'll get some people, obviously, but I don't think you'll make it go away unless you make it go away by saying, like, we're going to do the right thing.
Which is never going to happen.
That's probably not going to happen.
It's... what would you do if you were in Blizzard's place?
I would go back on what I did to BlitzChung and say, like, sorry, we fucked up. These guys only own 5% of us. They don't get to tell us what to do, and you're right. Like, you step back and say, like, yeah, we are an American company that's in favor of freedom of expression and protest and all the things that we have based our own constitution and existence on, and we are not going to pretend that it's okay that this other government is cracking down on that just because we have money to be made. And I realize that that's very anti-capitalist of me, but, like...
I mean, it's not, though.
It is.
I mean, it's anti-making as much money as possible.
Which is what capitalism is.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But, like, there's no shame in taking a hit to the bottom line for the sake of upholding the values that you say your company is based on.
Problem is,
now maybe
if you're a publicly held company, it could get real bad.
Yeah, but at the same time, the other public holders of that company being like, "You should bow down to China," is also not great optics for those people. So like,
they don't care. Like
They
to your
might not
point,
care, but-
all they care about is making as much money as
but
possible.
no one's coming to Tim Sweeney over it, and he said all that shit, and he doesn't. And Tencent owns 10 times more of
I
Epic
get that.
than Blizzard does.
I get that, but Epic Games isn't a stock ticker symbol. Activision Blizzard is. There's a big difference.
Well,
there.
you'd have to talk to Activision about it too. Who knows?
I mean, you got to think about it. Like, you could literally lose like billions and billions of dollars of your company's valuation in like a week.
I mean, the other option is Blizzard just move to China.
Yeah, I mean that might be the easiest resolution. Let's be honest.
A lot easier than having integrity.
It's a tough situation. I mean, look, I'm not gonna
look. What they should have done is they shouldn't have done anything. They should have just let him say that and never said anything, and we wouldn't even be talking about this.
You're probably right.
We've gone over this over and over. It's the Streisand
probably
effect writ large.
Kotaku probably would have written a story about it, but it wouldn't have got the pickup that it's got.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, the only way to make that go away is to step back, undo the 6-month ban for the American university kids.
And then take your lumps in China.
Take your lumps on it, and then reiterate, like, we don't want our streams to be a place for political commentary, et cetera, just like just chill out. Don't, let's not do this again. But now the consequences. Now we know the game. We're not going to crack down on this, but everybody chill.
But we are going to crack down on it.
We are going to crack down on it, but we're not going to punish anyone over this just because we hadn't established that this was a thing we didn't want to talk about. But now we have. If you have a problem with that, you can not support us or whatever, but we're not going to punish these people for doing this thing. Also, the streamers, the commentator, they banned a couple commentators for something like that too. That's really bad too, because commentators can disappear in the blink of an eye because they don't even have the cachet of playing the game on stream. So
they're not.
I would say
needed.
just reset the board and say, okay, we all know the rules now. No one's losing anything. But just let's not do this in the future. But like, no harm, no foul. Right now, can we all just please move on? Maybe put out a better apology that doesn't read quite like it was quite so much like it was written by someone who English is not their first language. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And then go talk to Disney and add Winnie the Pooh to Heroes of the Storm.
And then everything will be fine.
And then just see how fast that gets banned.
I don't envy Blizzard, but you know what? When you allow a company from a communist country to buy part of your company,
and that's it. I mean, China's communist in lip service.
All right.
They're authoritarian.
It's a dictatorship, basically.
Authoritarian dictatorship capitalism, basically. Like
no one's waiting in line for cheese and milk in China.
No, just human rights.
They just don't have any cheese and milk.
There's a reason the people in Hong Kong do not want to be part of it.
Yeah.
They were. I mean, Hong Kong is very British.
I know.
I mean, they were a colony for 100 some years. Like, that those cultures don't mesh too well, and I think they all acknowledge that. But like, China wants Hong Kong, they want Taiwan, they want that prestige and that power and what those places bring. And the people that live there are too independent for it. So
China's reneging on the deal it had when it took back over Hong Kong. That's essentially what's happening.
Yeah. But China's also not used to anyone telling them no.
Right. And some Korean politicians are acquescing to China, which is what. Anyway, we're not going to get into all that. Everybody knows what's going on there. It is very complex. I don't
think many people actually know what's really going on. The depth.
No, you're right.
It's very. I mean, just.
And it goes back like.
What was the
century,
thing? There was
not centuries.
What was the movie that just came out? It was an animated movie and had a map of that area. Oh, it was Abominable. There was a map that like did not include like the map was drawn with the boundaries that China prefers, and it erased a couple of countries that consider themselves separate countries, and there was a whole flap about that. Like it's. And, like, that's not new. Like, that stuff isn't new, but it's new because now these Western companies are trying to move in on the Chinese market because China has opened themselves to the possibility of that happening, and there's so much money to be made, and then you have to kind of kowtow to this, like, horrible place's beliefs about what reality should be, and then everyone else is like, no, that's actually terrible, and then you got to balance the... It's a terrible position to be in, and if I was one of those companies, I would not want to even attempt it, but there's so much money on the damn line.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm glad I'm not in that position.
They even made Michael Bay do stuff.
I know.
I mean, nobody crazy. Makes Michael Bay do anything he doesn't want to do, but he shot in China.
He sure did. It's nuts. All right, let's move on to our last topic of episode 187. We're going to talk about Ring Fit Adventure, Nintendo's new fitness initiative for Switch. Matt and I have both...
Oh, that's a good... Who said that?
Said what?
Senuku, that's a good line. Blizzard wants to dance at 2 weddings at the same time.
Yeah.
That's a good expression to use for this.
It doesn't matter what China doesn't have. It's about that Blizzard wants to dance on 2 weddings at the same time, and this will always go wrong. Yeah.
It is kind of a Three's Company episode, isn't it? Or like Jack's trying
very depressing one.
Going on 2 dates at the same time and changing clothes.
Yeah, I remember that.
And in the end, just everyone gets mad, and he doesn't get to go home with either one of them.
Yeah, that's true.
Watch more sitcoms, Blizzard.
Or don't. All right, we're going to talk about Ring Fit Adventure for Switch. It is...
Norman Fell knows the score.
It's a Switch take on Wii Fit. I guess that's the best way to describe it.
Basically they looked at Wii Fit and like, what if we actually made it a game?
Yeah. Hey, Adam. Or I'm sorry, not Adam. Jared, switch to my cam. So we brought the stuff in today to show you guys.
It's a ring.
Yeah. So...
that, ironically, doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah, so... it comes in this gigantic box. And what I found is after I used it, it would no longer go back in the box. Because the box is made assuming that this ring is a perfect circle. And after you use it for a while, I can even see it with my naked eye. It starts to become a little bit oblong. So it no longer actually fits.
Yeah, it's a slightly oblate ring now.
Yeah, so it no longer fits back in the box. But it comes in this gigantic box, and it comes with a physical copy of the game, believe it or not, which is something like we never get anymore.
I was sure there was going to be a code in there.
But yeah, there's actually like a box copy of the game inside, and then the ring and the other stuff are underneath that. But the way it works is, and I'll show you this as well, you have to have both your Joy-Cons. And one Joy-Con goes into the ring, and the other Joy-Con... Are you going to stick on one? Stick on my single so people can see it better. So you have the ring, and I'll show you how this works. The right Joy-Con goes into the ring, and it works just like a controller. So you just slide it in, and then it clicks into place. And then the strap that you have that goes around your leg, it's supposed to go around your upper thigh. I found ways to cheat and put it around my lower leg. And you slide the left Joy-Con into the sleeve, like so, and then you strap it around your leg. And it just fastens with Velcro, like you might expect, and you strap it around your leg. The ring has, thank God, I don't know if you noticed or not, but these handles are removable and washable. Because if you sweat, obviously, they're going to get gross. So keep that in mind if you decide to buy this used, actually.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy this used.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't, even if they said I hardly use it, because people are going to sweat when they play this. But basically, how you get most of your workout from this game is either running in place or doing like calisthenics, like sit-ups or leg pulls. And then the other way is the ring. So you can squeeze it in, you can pull it apart. And generally, like when you navigate the menu, squeezing it in is like hitting the button, and then pulling it apart is like backing out. And then there's exercises depending on how it's oriented. So when you're playing the actual game, when you have to defend against an attack, because this game does have an RPG built into it, you put it to your chest, and you squeeze it in.
You're supposed to put it on your stomach. As an ab guard.
Whatever.
You're supposed to squeeze your abs to defend whatever.
I put it up against your body and squeeze it in. That's basically what you have to do to defend when you're playing the actual RPG part of it.
The game itself does tell you that form is important, no matter what Shane tells you.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, if you're doing exercises, form is really important. Yeah. And I will say this, the tracking is very, very accurate.
Yeah, the tech is very impressive.
Like if this around your leg starts to slide around, it picks up on it, and it'll say it'll say your form is bad, like readjust it or whatever.
And it can tell. I mean, it's pretty clever that like between that, the ring, and the thing on your leg, it pretty much knows what you're doing at any time. Like even when you put the ring down to do like stuff on the floor, it uses like where it is on your thigh to know what position you're in.
Because all of a sudden the Joy-Con is horizontal, and it knows that I
will also say, I remember because you remember back when the Switch launched, we had a lot of disconnection problems with the Joy-Cons, and like people were talking about,
I still have problems with it. Yeah.
So I have to play this actually behind my couch because there's no room in front of it, and I have a big couch. You've seen the couch in the E3 stuff.
Yeah.
Like so I'm behind the couch, like between like my kitchen like island and the couch. So I'm like 12 feet away from the Switch, and I have had no disconnection problems or no like signal reading none whatsoever. It's been super solid. So
Me too.
I've been very impressed with the tech. Like from definitely from top to bottom.
Yep. So you guys know that it's an RPG, but we're going to show you right here. There's also a lot of other modes set in that are in the game just for you to work out. So you can just do sets of exercises if you want to. There are mini games to help you take your mind off of the idea that you're exercising, and then there are just simple exercises that you can do. You can even do exercises with this where you don't use the ring, and it still tracks it. And then, of course, there's the RPG part of it, which is what most of you are interested in, and that's what we're seeing right now. Don't expect too much from the RPG part of this game.
No, it's literally a carrot on a stick to get you to do the exercise.
Yeah,
but it's fine. It's charming. I think the bad guy is pretty great. Like I love that he's a giant muscle bro dragon.
He likes to do push-ups.
In a tank top. And he when you're fighting like boss fights with him, it says like he's working out to just trying to decide what his next workout will be.
Yeah.
And it's like I knew a lot of guys like him.
Oh yeah.
In when I worked at 24 Hour Fitness.
I mean, I still run into people like him.
Like somebody working out to decide what their next workout will be. I'm like, that's totally true. I knew a guy who did that all the time. He's like, I'm gonna go work out so I can figure out what I'm gonna work out on next. I'm just like, all right.
And the writing in this is pretty clever. Like there's a lot of jabs at like fitness culture. Like they talk about kale all the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of kale
and
jokes.
Smoothies and stuff like that. Like it uses the verbiage of people who spend a lot of time on fitness. And the ring itself is a character, and of course it's just called ring.
And like when you level up your character, you don't get stat bonuses, you get gains.
Yeah.
But I actually unironically love this character. Like I think he's very funny. Like
you think it's gonna be like a big new Nintendo character?
Probably not, but I just like him. I think he's funny, and I think he's like the design is like instantly readable. Like just
Well, he's got
the old school like weightlifter like tank top thing is very funny. Every time you run into him,
like
he's
CCCP Russia, like weightlifting in the 80s.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like he's like. I was thinking like Drago. That's what, Drago because of Rocky reference,
right? Yeah.
But I also love like I was thinking like if we were still doing X-Play, we would totally make Corrado dress as that character. But then I'm like, then we'd have to paint him black, and that would maybe get a little weird.
Yeah, that would.
So cosplaying this character might cross a line or two, but I think he's very funny. I would buy an amiibo.
So. They might make an amiibo.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the most recognizable character in this, to be perfectly honest with you. The way the game works is it's kind of like Sonic the Hedgehog until you get to a fight.
Yeah, pretty much. It's an endless runner, more or less, and
literally you have to run.
Yeah, I mean, this goes. I think we talked about it before. I'm like, people underestimate the cardio requirements of being a video game character.
Yeah, well, it reminds you. This game absolutely, reminds you that you're doing a lot of running.
Yeah, so basically you run in place and. Like on the courses, every level is like a specific.
It's a linear course, yeah. It's
and you squeeze the ring to shoot a puff of air, and you pull the ring to suck in air, and that's how you hit power ups and pick things up on the side of the road as you run by them. And then like sometimes you'll hit obstacles like stairs or water or something. And you have to run with your knees up to to get through it faster.
That was one thing the game did not pick up all the time for me. Was when I was high stepping versus just running.
I didn't have a problem with that, although the high stepping seems to get picked up better the higher up your thigh you strap the thing.
Oh, maybe that was part of the problem.
That's where it's detecting that. And then sometimes there's like things that collapse and you have to run faster to get across them. That's actually pretty hard because like there's always a delay between starting to run faster. You're just whacking the deer in the face, huh? Like, there's a delay in like starting to run faster and actually running faster, and until you recognize what the collapsing floor looks like, you'll get caught a couple times. But there's no way to die.
And there's jumping, so you can face the ring down towards the floor and squeeze it, and the character will jump.
Yeah, it's like a like a jump jet, basically.
Yeah.
And it seems like eventually you get upgrades to that, because a couple times I've jumped to get stuff and the ring has been like, oh, you didn't get it, but maybe we'll find a way to jump longer later. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
come back
subtle.
Again.
Come back and play the whole thing again.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. The doors, you have to blow. Once you get good and you're, I guess, strong, and you can squeeze the ring hard enough, you can eventually get to the point where you can blow open doors with one shot. But when you first start, like, it takes a few. But it's really just like an endless runner where you're constantly like looking off track for objects to shoot with your air blast, or you're looking for stuff to suck up with your air blast by pulling it apart. And then you get to the fights. And this is where you really get your workout. Like, you're jogging in place during most of this stuff and squeezing the ring here and there.
They're just getting your heart rate up for that.
Yeah, they're basically just making sure you don't have a heart attack when you start like the turn-based battle. Because once you start the turn-based battle, like here, you can see it wasn't picking it up for me all the time. Yeah. There it goes. Yeah. See, I don't know. I guess your mileage will vary on how well it picks that stuff up. But anyway, like we said, it's an endless runner with a linear track, but you get to certain points where there are these icons on the track, and they're enemies, and you have to fight the enemy to make headway. And it is a turn-based RPG, I guess. I would use that loosely. You do take turns, but you get much longer turns than the enemies do. And that's because they want you to work out. So when you start fighting an enemy, basically when you level up, it's not like a typical RPG where all of a sudden your magic's more powerful or your sword does more damage. When you level up, you get new moves to use as attacks. So just look at it like any calisthenic you've ever done is a separate attack. So a sit-up is a separate attack. A push-up is a separate attack, although those aren't specifically in the game. I'm just letting you know how it works.
Yeah, that's probably one of the few that they couldn't actually track properly.
Right, yeah. But basically, every exercise is a separate attack, and each one gives you has a different output as far as damage is concerned. When you first start battles, you're really just doing like chip damage, and then as the battles wear on, you have less time to perform each one. So basically, you're just doing more reps.
Yeah, you start with like 5 normals, and then like the last it sets at 10 usually.
Yeah,
5 normals, and then they're like pick up the pace, and you have to do it like twice as fast.
But that's also when you can do the most damage to enemies, because otherwise it takes forever. Like, it'll say squeeze, and you'll squeeze, and there'll be a little meter that fills up, and when it fills up, then you release, and then the attack happens. And you just keep doing that, and at first it's like it takes forever.
He's just banging them out. See, you just got to do that every time you got a chance. You just got to bang out this. But it's just the best way to do it, bro. I love that guy. I love this character.
And look,
and he's got the little like sweatband on his tail. It's adorable.
And look, there's difficulty settings, and the difficulty settings will change like how many reps you do. Like, I was doing more reps than 10.
Yeah, mine was like I started on moderate.
Yeah,
and I wasn't finishing a lot of them because like the enemies would die too fast.
Oh, really?
Like, I would do one. Like, each enemy could take like 15 hits basically.
I'm playing
you get one in for one, and then eventually you get group attacks, which changes how that works anyway.
Yeah, I'm playing the one level down from the highest. So not the highest, but the next one down.
I moved up, like on day 3, I think they moved me up, because there is like a more granular difficulty scale in there, like beyond just the 4 difficulty levels.
Yeah.
That you can go up, I guess, like numbered. So I think like it moved me up to like 19 or something. But like, I don't know, it's there's a lot of options. Like they really try to like kind of take care of you on that. So
and here you'll see. Here's combat for the first time. So you hold it in until the word hold fills up, and then you release, and you just keep repeating.
That transition there screws me up every time. Like, I always think that something went wrong when they do that.
One other thing I haven't figured out is, like, I was under the impression that you want to release exactly when the word fills up, but I don't think that actually matters.
No, I don't think it does.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, I think you do for the sake of like form and keeping the heart
rhythm
rate steady.
Going. Yeah.
But like, you don't seem to get penalized for holding it too long.
But you can see, like, boss battles take forever.
Yeah, he has a lot of health.
Like, and in
fact, it gets more and more the more as you go into the worlds.
And I'll cut here in a second, because I wasn't going to make you guys sit and watch me chip him all the way down. But it takes a while. Like, when you finish a boss battle, you're pretty tired. Yeah. I'll say that.
I mean, it's a real thing. Like, you can feel it, because one of the clever things about the ring
is, like, the ab guard we were talking about.
The ring is not particularly hard to
No,
compress.
It's not hard to compress it.
No, it's
like
very,
you can almost get your fist together pretty easily without even like trying.
But the clever thing about
I can put my fist together.
But the clever thing about it is the way they use it is like they make you hold it in positions that force particular muscles.
They'll make you put it above your head, and then all of a
sudden,
sudden, instead of using these muscles, you're using your shoulders and your back to compress it. So
they do get a pretty complete workout if you're picking different exercises.
I mean, it's smart. Like you don't even realize when you're just doing this that like all these muscles through here are getting like a workout.
Yeah. And like the day after the first time I played it, like I felt it was right. I was like, oh yeah, I feel it. I feel like that muscle knows something happened yesterday.
I'll say this, like it's not, and I'm not in good shape at all. I haven't exercised in quite a long time. Now, before I stopped exercising, I exercised a lot. I was in like the best shape of my life, but that was a while ago, and I have not really broken a sweat yet with this.
Not really. I mean, like that.
My muscles were sore.
That kind of like mild, like I'm about to sweat.
Yeah, where you start getting like your forehead starts to get a little moist.
Yeah,
or
but
whatever.
it's certainly not like I got to change my shirt.
Yeah, this is not like the insanity workout. Like you're not going to do this for like 6 weeks and be shredded.
But I think if you bumped it up to like maximum and like did like 2 or 3 worlds a day, it would be a pretty hefty workout.
It would give you cardio and you could lose weight.
It's pure cardio, and like it's also very. It seems like targeted somewhat to women.
Yeah.
Because one of the tips I got like between like when it was loading or whatever was like because sometimes they'll pop up like frequently asked like workout questions or whatever, and one of them was like I'm worried I'm gonna get too muscular, and I was like, okay, I said no, dude, ever, right?
Yeah.
But like, and they're like, don't worry, what we're doing here is not going to give you huge muscles.
Women worry about that.
It's just gonna be a cardio sort of like aerobic thing. You're not gonna get like a giant like muscular chest from squeezing this ring, but you are gonna slim down. You are going to tone up.
It's cardio for sure.
If this is what it takes to get you to do that, and I am certainly no fan of cardio, and it's what gets you to stick with it, like, great.
Yeah, I don't enjoy playing this as much as I enjoy playing sports.
Well, right.
Because sports do engage your mind every single moment. There's time in this game for you to be like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, if you're playing basketball or hockey, like, there are no moments like that. You're just constantly engaged and you're always going at it.
The advantage of basketball is that there's no load time.
That's true. That's a good point. But for me, like, I was looking at this.
Also, when you're playing basketball, your girlfriend doesn't come downstairs and give you that look.
True. That is true.
Like, oh, you want to play? She's like, no.
I mean, I was kind of looking at this to be kind of a replacement for sports for me, because right now I need knee surgery. I don't have the time to do it, and I haven't got it done. I can't really exercise the way I want to. This is not that, but it's a distraction from it's better than just running on a treadmill or walking on a stair stepper. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I do prefer this to like sitting on an exercise bike and watching a TV show or something.
Yeah, I would rather do this. But you're not going to get ripped unless you drastically change your diet. You're not going to lose a ton of weight doing this. You won't gain weight.
No.
You'll at least be treading water. But you're not going to lose a ton of weight doing this either, unless, as Matt said, you literally rip through like the whole game in a day.
You would have to do this a lot to really like max out your calorie burn. I mean, because people. I mean, if you want to, you really, every medical professional will tell you if you want to lose weight, you got to change what you eat.
Yep.
Before you change what your exercise routine is.
Yeah.
Not that you shouldn't exercise.
Yeah.
To help that along, but like. The intake of calories is much more important and easier to regulate than the burning of calories, because it's hard to burn calories.
I'll say this: the tech behind this game,
like in one world of this, you burn about enough calories to make up like one Oreo. Like it's
each world you burn like nothing. Yeah. It's like 80 calories or something.
Very little.
Yeah, I mean, and you spent probably 10 or 15 minutes doing it.
Which is, I mean, that's
better than nothing.
That's how exercise works. But like you say, if you can find something like a sport where you're doing it for an hour and you don't even think about it because you're focused on the game, you're gonna get a lot more.
This game does not do that. It's not good enough to distract. In fact, if this game were just a game without the fitness stuff,
this wouldn't.
It would be abysmal.
That. Also, like the game suggests you take a break too often.
Like every time, constantly.
Like, do you want to stop for the day? I'm like, I've been here 10 minutes, dude. Like, let's go. Like,
Jared, come back to the camera just for a second. So. One thing I will say is the tech behind this is really impressive.
Yeah.
Like For instance, like while you're running and you're squeezing and you're aiming like off of the track to try to hit stuff, it is like
it's really
it's scary accurate, like how good it is. Also, when you finish an exercise, remember that IR thing that's on the Joy-Cons that you're like, what do we ever use it for? It uses that to check your heart rate. You put your finger over the IR sensor, and somehow it supposedly takes your heart rate.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure that it was accurate.
It's moderately. I mean, I was checking it while it was doing it. It was more or less on target.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't use it as like a medical device, but like it was close enough. And, the one I will say that's the one or two times that I have had the controller disconnect was doing that. Like I think I pushed it too hard and it lost contact with whatever there, and I had to take it off and snap it back on, and then it was fine. But the two times I've had like a malfunction were because I was trying to hold it like that, because it says to put it like your thumb over it or something like that. And sometimes I'll just grab it and like I'm used to I press with my thumb and it pushes it out, and it's just like, oh, we couldn't read anything, so I had to reset it. But that's the only tech problem I've had.
Yep, and once the Joy-Con's plugged in here, it's functional. So you can use it for navigating the menus and the buttons to select and deselect stuff. It's pretty freaking cool, I guess is what I'll say. Like, there's a spark of something here that could be something far greater in the future, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely like
it's way better than Wii Fit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Leaps, if you got schooled by Wii Fit and bought the Wii Balance Board and you're still burned by that,
and you can do it. And the great thing is, like, there's no camera. You can be anywhere. Switch doesn't even have to be an eye line. Like you can do it wherever you can do it.
And it picks it up.
It's a much less tethered experience than like Wii Fit or anything like that. So I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to throw $80 at it.
So that's the rub, people.
But
Matt just brought up the 800-pound gorilla, which is the price of this thing. It is $79.99. After tax in California, it's basically $90.
Yep.
Like I thought should be $60. Because the game itself is a joke without the ring.
Yeah, you would never charge $60 for the game.
And this ring, I mean, really? It's just a nylon hoop with some cheap like Velcroed on handles. Like there's no way that this costs even $15 to make. Like it's just a nylon hoop.
Well, there's some
with some
circuitry
sensors in there, right, to know how much is being compressed. But come on, man, like.
And the leg strap is literally just a strap. There's no tech in the strap.
I mean, your mom could make this leg strap for you. It's just a little pocket that the Joy-Con fits in and a nylon strap with Velcro. Yeah. Like it's nothing.
It did do when I first turned it on. I don't know because I don't use the Joy-Cons ever really. So when I turned it on, it actually did do a big update on my Joy-Cons.
Oh, it did for me too. So. I think they forced an update for this game. I think it had to be updated. So the price, insane, but that has not stopped people. So I was in Best Buy on Saturday, and I was just walking around the game department, and somebody came in trying to buy this. And I overheard the whole conversation, and the kid's like, hey, I'm looking for a Ring Fit Adventure. And the guy's like, we don't have it. And he's like, okay, well, do you have it in your other stores? He went up to his computer, started pecking in, looked, he's like, it's sold out everywhere in Los Angeles. So within 24 hours of it being released, it was sold out in LA at every Best Buy. Yeah. Now, you said you found it at a Target in LA?
Yeah, every Target had, because when you said that, I thought it was because you were trying to buy it.
No, I already had it, yeah.
So I looked it up on Target, and because I was in a Target, and I saw it there.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I was in Target in Torrance, so it was
outside the city a little bit.
But I looked it up on their website. It was in all the LA Targets, so it's apparently doing real well at Best Buy, but
not so much at Target. That's really weird. But anyway, it does appear to be doing pretty well. Wii Fit sold pretty well, and that was $90, I think, with the balance board.
Yeah, I don't remember what that was.
I think it was $90. And that balance board was worthless, man. If you got done with Wii Fit, there was no purpose for any of it. I hope there's DLC for this because, look, if they can promise me that they're going to release new updates for this as DLC, then that $80 price tag doesn't seem so bad. But if all we're getting is what's on that card, and then that's it, you got to pay for the rest of the stuff, then that's too much for me.
Yeah, or like more games that use. I mean, there's potential here for stuff. Like you could do more with it.
Yeah, absolutely, you could.
And you know they have kept the Labo stuff going. So I mean, I'm sure we'll get a couple. I'm sure we'll get a couple years of various updates and new things out of this. But
should people buy it, Matt?
That's not for me to say.
It is for us to say. That's our job. That's why we're here. That's exactly our job.
I think
Vincent's saying you can use it as a Mario Kart steering wheel.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's fun. Squeeze it to shoot stuff. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd love to see them do like a bullet hell shooter where you have to squeeze it every time you shoot.
That would be quite the workout.
Yeah.
I would honestly say no, don't buy this. I think for the vast majority of our audience,
if you can get like a good deal on it during like Black Friday sales or something, maybe it'd be a nice thing to throw in with your rest of the stuff you're getting.
Yeah. I would rather have like my family spend that money on something else. Like, I think it might actually be a good fitness tool for somebody who's really overweight, who doesn't need a ton of exercise to actually get a workout out of it.
It's not a good game, but
it's a
decent tool.
Right. It's a bad game, in fact. If this were just an RPG and you could play this game with buttons and control sticks, this game would get like a 2.
Yeah, but it wouldn't exist.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if people are thinking about getting this and they're like, I don't really care about working out, I just want to try it, like, it's not worth it. It's too much.
Yeah, but it's a nice mix of kind of like, RPG stuff and kind of basic aerobic stuff. I mean, there's a lot of like actual physical gyms that offer programs like that now with level up stuff, and they track your progress like that. And like, there's a gym up in Burbank entirely based around that called the Nerd Gym.
I mean, we forgot to mention that, like, it sends you reminders. It keeps track of everything you do. You know how many calories you burn.
You can set an alarm that
reminds you to work out.
Reminds you even if the Switch is asleep.
Yep, it'll remind you to work out. Yeah. So it does kind of have all the tools that it needs to be a functional fitness app. I don't think I'm going to play it again. Are you?
I think I'm going to keep going, just to see what it turns into.
I spent like 3 days with it,
and I do enjoy the dragon guy. Like I want to see more of the dragon guy.
I mean,
dragon guy for Smash.
I think it's going to do pretty well because Wii Fit did very well, and it was a shadow of what you're getting here. I think a lot of people are just going to get it because it's another wacky Nintendo peripheral that people want to collect.
But I will say that I enjoy it. Like
It's better than just running on a treadmill or riding an exercise bike.
And it's silly enough to kind of like acknowledge that what you're doing is dumb.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I think it's fun. It's not like if you're a dedicated gym rat, you're not going to get anything else out of this. But it's a nice way to sort of like have some movement in the day, and
it might be a good way to transition yourself from doing nothing to actually working out without getting injured. Like if you did this for like a week or two, probably going to a gym and actually getting on a treadmill or a stair stepper probably won't kill you. Because if you haven't been working out and you go to a gym and actually work out, you'll feel like death for like a day and a half afterwards.
Yeah, it's probably a good like gateway drug.
Yeah. It's a good way to transition
if you have no confidence about being in a gym, but like you want to see if you can do this stuff, like also it teaches you a fair number of yoga stuff.
It does. Yoga poses, and there's like cool downs after every workout, which you should be doing. Like you should be doing like yoga poses after you work out, so you're not just putting a strain on your heart.
I do like eventually it starts bribing you with XP to do the stretching and stuff. I was like, that's funny. It's like,
so look, there's some clever stuff in the game, and it's the best fitness gaming app ever.
Yeah. I will
give it that.
Do not play this in a group. Like the idea that a group of people sitting around excitedly watching someone play this game is nonsense.
Yeah, that's nonsense. Yeah, but I think you have a pretty good idea what you're getting yourself into with Ring Fit Adventure. Again, it's $80. It's like $90 here after tax.
That's like the top possible justifiable price for this. Really.
Yeah, I mean they pushed it absolutely.
Yeah, that's the upper limit of I think what I would accept.
Nintendo's been pretty dirty with Switch, man.
Like if it had been like $10 more, I probably would have just let you talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I had problems with my right Joy-Con again when I started playing this. Like I unsnapped it from my Switch and it wouldn't connect. And then I updated it and it did connect. Like I think the Joy-Cons are just junk if you ask me, but hopefully they're manufacturing them better now. I'm pretty disappointed in the overall quality. As you guys know, my first one was completely dysfunctional and didn't work, and I stuck with it for like a year because I couldn't send it in. And I just had really bad experiences with the Joy-Cons, and they're really expensive. Like, to me, those things should be solid state, should work like a charm, and they don't always do that. So there you go. Ring Fit Adventure for Switch. It's out now. It came out on Friday. $80.
Luckily, my Joy-Cons have been pretty solid, but again, I've probably used them before this. I've probably used them for a total of like an hour.
Detached.
At all, yeah. Like,
well, I mean, when you play your Switch at all, you're going to use them. Or do you use the Pro Controller?
I use a Pro Controller.
Yeah.
I never use the Joy-Cons for anything. They've just sat on the Switch in its dock for
my left one has analog stick drift. I need to send it in, but there's all these games coming out, and I just have to deal with it until like the new year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, mine might have analog drift, but I don't.
You wouldn't even know. All right, it's time for our trailer of the week, and as you guys know, that's your cue to get any questions into Q&A. If you want to ask us anything, feel free to ask us about Ring Fit Adventure if you'd like.
What else is there to say?
There isn't a whole lot. People may have questions. Some people may be legitimately interested in this to work out. And if that's the case, hit us up. Our trailer of the week, we did not cover the Outer Worlds today. We're going to cover that next week. But we figured we'd be remiss if we did not at least acknowledge that it's coming out before our next episode. It's on Friday, correct?
Yep.
Or
Thursday night.
Tomorrow if you're on Game Pass? I don't even know if it's on Game Pass, is it?
It is on Game Pass.
It is?
Yeah. It's this Thursday.
So you can get it a day early on Game Pass.
Well, it goes live at midnight, like Eastern, so we get it at 9.
Oh, okay. So anyway, it's coming out, but we're not talking about it on this episode, but we wanted to remind you that it's coming, and so it is our trailer of the week. Let's roll it. All right, so there's a little taste of the Outer Worlds, again, coming out this Friday for most people, or a little earlier if you're on Game Pass.
Or if you just pre-ordered.
If you pre-ordered, you can get it early, too?
And yeah, it goes live at midnight Eastern, so it's at 9. Everything does that now.
Oh, so wait, there's no advantage to playing it on Game Pass, then, is what you're saying?
There were some people saying it goes live earlier in the day on Thursday. I mean, the advantage is you don't pay $60.
Well, right, yeah.
So I don't know if it goes live any earlier. I don't know.
There's no early access on Game Pass.
I'm playing on Game Pass, so I'll find out one way or the other.
Yep. But anyway, that's Friday. It's coming out, and we'll talk about that next Tuesday. Let's get to some questions. Talika 1981, Erebus Jones, thank you for Twitch Prime. I saw a bunch of you guys subscribe via Twitch Prime at the open, but I missed it, and now the way the chat works, it is gone. So sorry if I missed you guys. If you can, always try to wait until this moment to subscribe via Twitch Prime. I know some of you guys can't watch the whole show, and so you'll just do it when you can. But if you can, wait till the end so we can recognize you guys in the actual show. I really like to do that, and hopefully you guys appreciate it as well.
Yeah, my back scroll ends when one Supermaster Gamer subscribed.
Yeah. So thank you, one Supermaster Gamer.
Which was way back when we were talking about gaming disorder.
Yep. Playland said, oh, damn, shots fired at Francis. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe Francis is trying to use this to lose weight? I don't know.
Maybe. Is that a reference to that character Boogie plays?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. If he's doing something with this, I haven't been
It was nothing
attention.
intended towards him at all. Anyway. Freeze frame rate, what do you think of Pokemon Go adding online player versus player battles? Is it too late to bring people back from the initial launch? I don't think they have to bring anyone back. Like, there's still millions of people playing Pokemon Go.
I think at this point it's just keeping people entertained.
Yeah.
And in the app.
And I mean, I'll be honest, I thought it should have been there from the beginning.
Well, yeah.
But it wasn't. So maybe they were smart waiting this long to...
As Gabe Newell said, these things take time.
Yeah. But I think in hindsight, maybe they were smart with kind of delaying it, waiting until people kind of burned out on the other parts of the game before bringing it in.
Somewhat. Also, like, I'm sure that took a long time to get to work right.
Yeah.
So.
It should have been a part of the plan from the beginning.
Yeah, but they were basically just reskinning Ingress, which didn't have anything like that. So
yeah, and to answer your question, whether it'll bring people back at all, yeah, some. I mean, it makes me think about going back and looking at my Pokedex and seeing what I have. And
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't because whatever I have is not going to be remotely competitive, and
yeah.
It's just not going to be worth it.
I did just finally uninstall Pokemon Go like last month. It had sat on my phone unopened forever, and finally I was like, I'm out of like space on my phone, so I deleted that to download some other game, and yeah, it's gone now. But
I still open it sometimes when I'm out somewhere and I think about it, and I send gifts to people. People on my friends list, I send the gifts to, and like I'll open it if I'm in like an interesting place, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if there's a Pokemon stop, I can get a gift from it. So that's basically what I do with it.
Let's see, ETH Demon. If you can match any IP or developer, what would it be and why? For me, it's KOTOR and Obsidian. KOTOR 2, and even more so with the Content Restore patch, is one of my favorite RPGs of all time. I want to see another Star Wars RPG from Obsidian. I think you're alone on that one, my friend. I think everyone would like to see another KOTOR, but it's not going to happen.
Well, also, the people that made KOTOR 2 don't work at Obsidian anymore, really. So, I mean...
It's just like Rare. It's like, I want another Banjo, but the people who don't work on Banjo don't work at Rare anymore.
KOTOR 2 was largely Chris Avallone, who does not work for Obsidian anymore.
Yeah.
So... I mean, Chris Avallone did apparently do some writing or at least some consulting on the script for Jedi Fallen Order. So we'll see.
Okay, so
but mainly if you like KOTOR 2, you should take a look at Dying Light 2.
Yeah,
because that's his next opus.
Let's answer his question though. Match any IP with any developer. What would it be and why?
I think most of them are pretty well matched up, but
I would like to see Nintendo get a ton of IP. Just to see what it would do with some of the biggest gaming IP because it has a completely different perspective on everything. Like, I'd love to see Nintendo develop like a God of War or just something that's completely out of its wheelhouse to see how it would change it or affect it.
I would like to force Insomniac to make a Transformers game.
That's not bad. Well, they already fulfilled one of your fantasies. They built a Spider-Man game.
That's a good Spider-Man game, yeah.
That would be cool, man. I mean, I kind of thought we were going to get that with Platinum's Transformers game.
I didn't.
And I did, though. I was like, this is a match made in heaven, and it really wasn't.
It was just another one of their beat-em-ups.
Yeah, they just sloughed it off onto one of their B teams.
Hosed down in Transformers juice.
John,
perhaps.
Justin Horman. Isometric style CRPGs have had a bunch of releases in recent years and have generally been well received. Would you have come close to predicting this a decade ago? Do you think that these mostly indie projects could influence larger developers or publishers to focus on writing and storytelling as technologies and graphical fidelity become more complicated to develop or distinguish their games from the rest? That's the longest question we've ever answered at the end of GameFace.
I think larger devs and pubs already focus on writing and storytelling.
Yeah.
Like otherwise you don't get God of War or
I think you're already seeing
that
shift in focus.
I mean, they're not always good.
Yeah.
But
they're putting more focus on it, though.
It's very hard to say that Sony, at least, doesn't care about that when they put out stuff like Detroit Become Human, which, again...
with branching story paths and all that stuff.
Terrible writing, but that was the whole point, was focusing on the storytelling.
I mean, even like Until Dawn, games like that.
Really, I think the only major publisher or major like platform holder that doesn't focus on that is Nintendo.
Yeah. Yeah, and it goes the other way.
Yeah.
It's very poor at telling stories, I believe.
I would like to see some more old school looking stuff. I mean, but again, even Microsoft has made isometric Halo games, and you got Darksiders Genesis coming. It's not alien. It's not totally alien to the AAA market,
yeah, for sure.
But I do think that is due to the rise of indie games and the proof that these quote unquote old formats can work in a modern setting.
Yep. Erebus Jones, I've just finished Rage 2 and it was totally okay. Enjoyed it just fine. Got my money's worth. Almost certainly won't remember it much in a year. In the same spirit, what's the best perfectly fine game you can think of?
I mean, Rage 2 is a good example.
It is, yeah. It's kind of right in the wheelhouse.
But if I can't pick the same game and we're sticking to this year, I'd say Far Cry New Dawn.
I mean, he's kind of talking about B-level games at this point. Not indies. Those games that are in the middle between the big budget and indie.
Like
Mad Max, probably a
Mad
perfectly
Max was
fine
exactly
game.
what I was about to say. Like of this generation, the most fine game is probably Mad Max.
Just Cause.
Just Cause
Another
is a
one.
good one.
Yeah.
It's the Saints
There's a
Row.
lot of them.
Saints Row games tend to be like
I mean,
that.
Breakpoint is kind of an okay
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
It's like everything works the way it's supposed to. There's nothing horribly offensive about it.
Well, I wouldn't say Breakpoint works the way it's supposed to quite yet, but it will eventually. Once they figure out where to put the camera in the cutscenes. Like, I am amazed at how many cutscenes I'm watching where someone's eyes aren't on screen because they're cut off by the top of the frame. Very weird.
Emperor Dread, are you hoping for protests at BlizzCon? If so, what would be the coolest, funniest you can think of?
Hoping?
That's a good question.
I mean, I expect them.
Hoping is the important word there, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Hoping.
I don't want to say I hope for them because I fear that violence could erupt.
Yeah, I mean that only really happens when there's more conflict on.
Well, there might be people who support Blizzard's decision. They're counter-protesters.
I feel like those 3 or 4 people would maybe not be dumb enough to show up to that.
Yeah.
Usually, you're gonna need 2 very I mean, this is also one of the few issues I've seen where like the more progressive people are on the same side as the conservative or like Gamergate style people because just everybody hates China. Yeah, it's like
everybody hates communism, even though they're not really communists.
So I don't think there's gonna be a lot of conflict there. I wonder how big it will be. I wonder what the police presence might be. I wonder where they'll be doing the protest because the Anaheim Convention Center is a fairly large ground. And depending on how far they let them in towards the entrance area, they could be way out, like in the parking lot, basically.
I mean, you're right. They could be in like the parking garage and nowhere near the actual event.
So who knows?
It's going to happen, and it's going to be newsworthy.
Yeah, and the other thing you could do if you're running the event is you could say you can't park here unless you show us your BlizzCon tickets.
Right.
Because I'm sure a lot of people going to the protest would not be going to BlizzCon.
Or they would not be willing to show their band because they don't want them to confiscate them before they can get it.
It's much more likely that you're talking about people who aren't going to BlizzCon than going to protest.
So why would they want to support them? Unless maybe they bought their ticket already or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably. I mean, for the people that are going, you're talking about people wearing like free Hong Kong shirts to go, at which point they will be told to go back to the hotel and change. I mean, that's not a totally impossible thing either. I mean, hell, my dad got kicked out of Disneyland for that once.
What would be the coolest, funniest I don't think any of it's going to be cool or funny.
No, I don't think there's a cool, funny
I don't think
thing.
that's the tone that's going to be there during the protests. It's just not. Super Cordon Bleu, if Blizzard were to bring the band players out at BlizzCon and publicly apologize while reversing their decisions, do you think that would sway opinions? So he's asking you, like, what's that break point that you were talking about?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I said. It's like, I think you pretty much need to do that. And say, all right, we were wrong. Like, okay, like we're listening to you because that previous quote unquote apology, it's not even an apology. It's a statement, basically. Yeah, I mean that would be the solution probably. To show A, you're not afraid of China, and B, you're willing to listen to people telling you to do the right thing. But we're talking about a subsidiary of Activision, so who knows what we're gonna get.
Playland MX, Riot did a bunch of announcements last week. Are you interested on anything they present? You might want to watch
last week's show.
Go watch GameFace episode 186. You don't have to wait that far. It's the first topic of last week's episode. We talk about it for like 30 minutes. Because we are the most informative gaming podcast in the world. I wish I had like a voice filter that I could push every time I say that. From Vincent, with delays for both Doom Eternal and Fallout 76 Westlanders update to last year, Bethesda has absolutely nothing for Q4. Oh, my fantasy team is well aware of that. When was the last time a publisher on Bethesda's scale had absolutely nothing for a holiday season? Last year, PlayStation.
Yeah, that's true. Spider-Man
and it might be this year, PlayStation. When do they have Death Stranding?
Death Stranding.
Yeah. Still, another dry year from PlayStation. They better have that front load, that launch of PS5 really front loaded with amazing
Nintendo
games.
had a few empty holiday seasons, even if Reggie wouldn't admit it at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the Wii days.
Oh, my God. Wii days, GameCube days, N64 days.
Remember they tried to anchor a whole
Q4
core
with
on
Wii Music. Yeah. That's like using this to anchor your Q4. It's the same concept.
They would. I mean, they did that with the Wii Fit.
I know.
At the time. I mean,
it's insane.
It's great that stuff like this in Labo is now just like a bonus item and not like the thing you're supposed to be excited for.
Yeah. Vincent's saying he counts Spider-Man as something, but that was before Q4.
That was Labor Day.
Yeah. One more from Erebus. Excluding fighting games, is the D-pad an utterly pointless thing better replaced with buttons?
No.
No. No, 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 no. No. This is what you're talking about right here. Like, no, that's bad. That's why people are so excited that the Switch Lite has a D-pad instead of 4 buttons.
I always prefer a D-pad there.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you know what you can use a D-pad as? Buttons.
Yeah, exactly. It's dual duty. You can use it as a D-pad and as buttons. All right. That's it. That's it for Q&A. And we've actually hit our 3 hours. It's miraculous how timed we are every week. I don't know how we do it on the minute. We always manage to wrap it up right at 3 hours. But anyway.
Nobody knows. It's a mystery.
Yep. That's it for GameFace 187 here on Sifted Games at Sifted.net. If you're listening to this show on or on iTunes, actually it's called like Apple Podcasts now. It's not called iTunes. Mm-hmm. I know, it's crazy.
They split it all up.
Yeah. So if you're listening to the show on Apple Podcasts or you're listening to it on Google Play, please help us out at patreon.com/sifted. Our Patreon could use all the help it could get. Alternately, you can hook us up with Twitch Prime as long as you have Amazon Prime. You can give us a free $2.50 every month just by connecting your accounts and subscribing to our channel, which is at twitch.tv/siftedgames. So we'll be back next Tuesday with what will probably be the biggest episode of 2019, at least up until that point. There may be a bigger episode a week or two after that, but next week's show is going to be gigantic. Several huge games. Matt and I are not getting any sleep for the next week, pretty much. Or actually, probably for the next, 6 weeks. Yeah.
I mean, there's other reasons for that, though.
Oh, yeah, of course. But anyway, we'll see you back here at 1 o'clock, 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern for episode 188. Until then, have yourselves a great week. GameFace is up and out.